Boom, we've just been flicked off. Furious and angry, a random reacted aggressively by flipping off his opponent and shouting an insult in a hostile display of defiance. We are then introduced to an advertisement panel bursts with excitement, boldly promoting the latest virtual reality fantasy game titled Chrono Life, with dynamic graphics that capture the viewer's attention. The busy scene is filled with the sounds of various characters engaged in lively conversations as GU, calm and observant, surveys the crowd with a pensive expression. GU, visibly frustrated with an angry expression, voiced his discontent by declaring that he wanted to quit the game. Fuming with frustration, GU angrily raised his sword in a fit of rage, cursing the game that had him so exasperated. GU stood awkwardly with a sword in hand, uncertain of himself, while a beautiful girl watched him with curiosity and keen interest. She, with her long pink hair and commanding presence, boldly interrupted the scene by calling out assertively and wielding her magical staff, demanding attention. Startled by the sudden appearance of the graceful and commanding woman, GU reacted with surprise, unable to hide his inquisitive curiosity, as he wondered who she was. The girl, smiling warmly and appearing hopeful, made a charming proposal to GU, inviting him to join her in farming and suggesting they could form a partnership. GU, overwhelmed with joy, exclaimed that Chrono Life was the best game ever as he celebrated the moment with exuberance. GU, modestly downplaying his achievement, responded that it was nothing, as the woman excitedly complimented him, and they shared a cheerful, light-hearted moment in the lush forest. GU, with a confident smirk, boasted that he had received some money from his parents the previous day and had spent a lot on in-app purchases. The girl expressed surprise and asked how much he had spent, clearly amazed by his recent expenditures. Laughing lightly, the GU teased the girl by saying she shouldn't be surprised, as they continued walking together along the forest path, sharing a playful and intimate moment. GU, with a confident smirk, announced that he had purchased the 55,001 beginner warrior package. The girl, filled with admiration and excitement, exclaimed that GU was like a knight out of a fairy tale, praising his heroic demeanor. Just then the beauty smiled brightly and expressed her excitement about their arrival, exclaiming that they had finally arrived. GU, looking confused while preparing to turn, questioned what was meant by the statement, indicating his perplexity about their current situation. Just then we see the girl stab the protagonist off guard. GU was in intense pain, bleeding, and visibly shocked as he struggled with his injury and desperately tried to breathe through his distress. GU, still overwhelmed and bewildered from his recent ordeal, reacted with a stunned and confused expression as he questioned what was happening around him. The girl, holding her staff threateningly with a determined expression, loomed over GU, who lay on the ground in a state of fear and confusion, as he questioned her about her actions. She, with a playful yet sharp expression, while our protagonist asked if the goddess was after his weapon, heightening the suspense of the moment. She confidently displayed her weapon with a smug smile, dismissing any need for the main character's trash weapon by stating that she didn't need it. Startled by the unexpected turn, GU expressed his shock with a bewildered exclamation, reacting in disbelief to what he was hearing. The girl, with a smug expression and a magical staff in hand, revealed her true intent to lure GU into a trap in the forest center where no one could hear him. GU, filled with anger and confusion, confronted the girl, accusing her of deceiving him by luring him there under false pretenses and questioning whether her offer to farm together was a lie as well. She responded playfully with a cheerful tease, questioning why she would want to farm with him. The goddess, with a playful smile and teasing gesture, mocked GU by calling him a noob, clearly enjoying the taunt. Goddess, smirking confidently and taunting GU by claiming she was out of his league, exuded a cocky and mocking attitude that intensified the tense atmosphere. With a smug and mocking tone, sarcastically she advised the GU to ask his parents for more money to reinforce his weapons, implying that if he struggled with the controls, at least his equipment should be better. GU, with a smug expression and blood trickling from his mouth, as she taunted the opponent by mocking his financial situation, implying that his parents were broke. GU, with an intense and defiant expression, demanded that the other person stop, clearly confronting them with urgency. GU, furious and resolute, demanded that the other person not bring his parents into the conflict, his anger vividly expressed in a dramatic close-up. She executed a sweeping slash with her weapon, aiming at an unseen foe, her focus intense. Furious and defiant, she shouted at her opponent that she should not be spoken to in such a manner, calling them a noob and expressing her intense frustration. Just then, a screen announced that the quest was complete, and that she would now advance to a hidden job class, embodying a triumphant sense of achievement. Her hair transitioned to ashade of black, glowing particles as she acquired new attire. And with that she sprouted angelic wings. The goddess of life, standing triumphantly with a radiant aura after completing her transformation, declared that her advancement was complete, and she had become the new goddess of life. She proudly announced that she had finally killed 1,000 people, her confident smile revealing her chilling sense of achievement. Bleeding from his mouth and lying on the ground, Jiyu struggled to survive, despair evident on his injured and vulnerable face. Realizing the importance of his insights, he reflected that in this game, he had learned a vital lesson. Jiyu, with a resolute expression emphasizing the gravity of survival, reflected on the harsh truth that only the strongest survive. A stark red warning sign appeared, indicating that the character had died. A warning notification appeared, informing that a portion of experience had been lost and that the character would now be revived in a safe area. We cut to Jiyu, who just spawned back and looking devastated. Overwhelmed and furious, Jiyu screamed out loud in a moment of pure panic, losing all aura points. Jiyu, feeling determined after his previous outburst and loss of aura points, rummaged through his man purse looking for something to wipe his tears. He grasped the hammer of reinforcement tightly, preparing to increase an item's level by +1. Jiyu charged forward with fierce determination, his energy conveyed through dynamic lines and a striking red backdrop. Jiyu executed a fierce attack with his rust upgrade hammer, preparing to upgrade his sword, resulting in a dramatic clash that echoed the intensity of his unwavering resolve. Jiyu's frustration reaches new heights as he hammers away, breaking his sword. Looks like someone forgot to reinforce the item. Guess the sword didn't get the memo about being steel enough. Looked furious as his 30,001 sword is now just cannon fodder. Not giving up, he tried to upgrade his Infinity Gauntlet, hoping that maybe this would work. After failing miserably and disappointing the Avengers, Jiyu sat amidst shattered pieces and a broken weapon, embodying a mood of despair and defeat. It's a moment of pure hopelessness, as he faces the consequences of his failure after losing everything. Contemplating life, suddenly a stick is thrown to him, an all-time low disrespectful action. Wooden stick, glowing with a faint magical aura and depicted with energetic lines, is presented as the basic weapon for beginners, though it is described as very weak. Jiyu, appearing contemplative with a direct glance and reacting to an unseen presence, looked curious as he turned toward the source of a sound. Jiyu's savior greeted him with a cheerful smile and wave, embodying his friendly and approachable demeanor. As the noob enthusiastically greeted Jiyu with a joyful wave, and Jiyu responded with surprise and hesitation to the energetic welcome, claiming he was a beginner. Jiyu, focused and determined, hammered the wooden stick with intent, causing a bright spark to fly through the air. By the grace of God, the system proudly confirmed that his magical reinforcement was successful, adding extra damage to the wooden stick. Jiyu, feeling proud of his accomplishment, tried again with the system stating his stick has been reinforced again, dealing extra damage. Jiyu continued to hammer the stick with intense focus, embodying his determined spirit as he diligently crafted his weapon. Jiyu, with a determined and excited expression, successfully completed the reinforcement on the glowing stick, marking a crucial step in his preparation. Jiyu, holding the hammer and with a tense determination, believed that the reinforcement would soon break, aware that increasing the level heightened the risk of failure. Clanging away at the stick, Jiyu, determined and focused, channeled his energy into one last powerful strike that caused sparks to erupt from the stick. The scene radiated triumph as the glowing wooden stick, now fully reinforced to the highest level, shimmered with sparkles. Jiyu, clutching the stick and drenched in sweat, looked stunned and exclaimed in disbelief. Jiyu, sitting on the ground with a weapon in hand, was baffled as he questioned how the success rate was below 5%, even with a +10 boost, revealing his confusion and contemplation of imminent success. As the stick slipped from his hand, startled and fearful, Jiyu reacted with a series of muffled sounds as he struggled catching the stick. With a single tap to the ground, he ended the entire human race, shocking even him. As we witness, the stick immense power. A burst of intense energy erupts from the center of the whirls, signaling that a powerful attack has been unleashed. Saitama-level power condensed into a stick. Jiyu, overwhelmed by his destruction and shocked, was depicted screaming with tears of agony streaming down his face. We cut to screams of the players terrified and desperately calling for help. One shouted that he believed a dragon had just used its fire breath. Jiyu could only look innocent as someone urged for their attention to look at the disaster. The scene conveyed an ominous atmosphere as Jiyu, horrified and disbelieving, reacted to the revelation that the entire continent had been split in half amid fiery destruction. Ji-yu stood with a tense expression as he received a system message his attack had slain another player, and his reputation had fallen. Ji-yu's expression darkened as he absorbed the ominous notification that his reputation had fallen, deepening his concern over the mounting consequences. Reveling in his newfound power and exuding confidence, Ji-yu let out a quiet chuckle, embodying his pride as his silhouetted figure stood against a radiant burst of light. "Guys, buckle up, because I think this guy is crazy." He let out a sinister, prolonged laugh that echoed ominously, his menacing grin revealing his malice. Ji-yu, smirking confidently with a fierce expression, declared that he was about to teach the rest of them a lesson and harshly addressed his opponents, revealing his challenging intent. Ji-yu confidently strides through the street, surrounded by onlookers, making a striking entrance that reflects his determined demeanor. Ji-yu remained steadfast as a burly blind guy bumped shoulders with him. He, looking fierce and confrontational with an intense expression, demanded to know who the unknown person was, clearly angry and challenging his opponent. The tense scene continued as Big Uggy, displaying a threatening posture, taunted Ji-yu with a dismissive remark about his bravery and calling him a noob. Ji-yu, frustrated and irritated, demanded to be released as he struggled against the restraint, asserting his defiance despite his irritated state. As the man was talking, he was suddenly bonked in the head. Was Doge his master? Furious and confrontational, he reacted with outrage after feeling that he had been hit, and angrily challenged his attacker for attempting to fight him with a wooden weapon. His face reflected shock as the bright light illuminated him, revealing the intensity of the powerful strike he was enduring. Ji-yu stood confidently amid the explosion, while the man burned alive, clearly overwhelmed by the sheer display of his unleashed power. Disappearing faster than my dad, Ji-yu stood there confidently aura farming in front of the guy's girlfriend. Ji-yu stands confidently against a radiant background, asserting that he is the main character of this world with a determined and empowered aura. Ji-yu continues to display a confident smile, embodying his determination and resolve amid the mystical world. Just then, a system message popped up ominously warned that his weapon was badly damaged and would break soon. Ji-yu looked shocked and confused, reacting in disbelief to the sudden ominous warning about his weapon's imminent break. The alleyway looking not at all suspicious. The system explains that the wooden stick is the default weapon given to beginners, but due to its high fragility, it will break after only a few hits and cannot be repaired. Feeling defeated after this discovery, Ji-yu, lying down and contemplating the durability of the object, deduced that since it had a durability of 5 and he had already struck it twice, he could only use it 3 more times. Fueled by his fury, Ji-yu angrily declared his intention to confront the guys who rejected him, making an aggressive gesture to threaten retaliation. Determined and angry, he also plotted his revenge on the girl, vowing to exact his vengeance. Ji-yu, with a resolute expression, internally declared that he knew what to do next, solidifying his focus on the impending decision. We transition to the dark depths of a place darker than my soul called Ravine of the Deceased. As Ji-yu walks, we can see human bones, a clear sign to not advance. Cloaked figure, embodying determination and fearlessness, marched barefoot through a desolate landscape littered with skulls, exuding an ominous feeling. Ji-yu walks through a ground of skulls, resolutely navigating the perilous environment with unwavering determination. As he's talking to his demons, suddenly the ground begins to shake. We then see bright purple eyes suddenly illuminates a dark, shadowy figure, unveiling a menacing presence that heightens the ominous atmosphere. He stands resolutely before a scene filled with skulls, confronting a dark entity that looms ominously overhead, embodying his determination to face the looming threat. Massive dragon-like creature roared dramatically, its purple energy aura intensifying, unleashing a terrifying sound that echoed ominously across the scene. Ji-yu, standing confidently before the looming shadowy claw of the ultimate boss monster, acknowledged its challenge with a daring remark, emphasizing his fearless confrontation. Facing the ominous presence of the giant dragon and surrounded by skulls, he remained resolute, refusing to back down. The scene reveals a massive, two-headed dragon as he states that this is such a land, where life perishes. The monstrous figure, emanating dark energy and towering menacingly, declared that it was time for the foolish mortal to fall to unbearable despair. Without warning, Ji-yu launched a Super Saiyan attack at one massive, menacing creature with a terrifying blend of colors head, now completely missing. As this shocked the brother, Ji-yu, feeling the weight of his dwindling chances, silently contemplated his next move amid the cold, foreboding landscape, aware that he only had 3 strikes left. Now taking the tiny human seriously, Ji-yu lifted his stick preparing another strike. Feeling the tense atmosphere, He thought that he might as well kill the strongest boss in the game with his weapon. The creature, sensing the threat, blinked with its glowing eyes, heightening the ominous atmosphere and instilling a deep sense of fear. The creature desperately pleaded for Jiyu to stop, his voice trembling with panic as the massive figure loomed over him. Surprised to see the creature whining, Jiyu was confused as he exclaimed. Urus, nervously pleading for attention and asking the boss to hear him out, appeared distressed and anxious as he desperately tried to communicate amid the tense atmosphere. A monstrous figure with sharp teeth looming ominously in the scene, gulped nervously as he faced the terrifying threat with evident fear. The creature, trembling with fear and confusion, asked Jiyu who he was and how he possessed such strength, highlighting the intimidating power Jiyu displayed while confronting it. Urus, trembling with fear yet still defending himself, the protagonist shouted that he did not know why and demanded he stop questioning him before suddenly threatening them to die. With a swing of his tiny stick, Jiyu's solo cleared the strongest boss in the game. The monstrous creature unleashed a terrifying roar, as intense energy resonating through the ominous atmosphere. Dropping to the ground heavier than an asteroid, the monster coughed up blood. Standing confidently and pleased with his victory, Jiyu let out a triumphant laugh while observing the defeated, ominous figure lying on the ground. Jiyu, gripping his worn stick with a tense determination, announced that he had only one strike left, his anxiety evident as he prepared for a final move. Jiyu, overwhelmed by the hopelessness of the situation, questioned why everything had to end this way and expressed regret over the weapon durability system, lamenting that if it hadn't been for that, things might have been different. Hearing this, the monster felt a shimmer of hope. Urus, nervous yet eager to assist, had asked about durability, and he offered his help, believing he could address what was troubling him. This piqued Jiyu's interest as he asked how. Just then a system message popped up. A system message appeared suddenly, presenting a master-servant contract request from Urus, the powerful and authoritative twin-headed dragon, who wished to relinquish his soul and asked if the recipient would accept the monumental quest. Baffled, he asked what the message was about. Trembling with fear, Urus nervously asked if the Sir had ever heard of the Ego Sword. It seems the main character just didn't know anything as he asked what the Ego Sword was also. Urus nervously proposed to become Guy's weapon, explaining that he would give up his physical form and transfer only his soul, highlighting the tense and desperate nature of his offer. He explained that if the weapon became sentient, it would evolve into the Ego Sword, a mystical blade surrounded by glowing energies and symbols. Jiyu was stunned as he learned that the weapon possessed infinite durability, revealing its incredible power, and leaving him amazed and intrigued. Jiyu smirked confidently as Urus revealed that the Ego Sword was the highest-ranking weapon in Chrono Life, emphasizing its significance with a gesture. Meanwhile, Jiyu let out a Joker-level laugh as he bathed in the good news. The menacing dragon loomed over a figure among skulls as Jiyu, maintaining his defiant stance, mocked the offer with a sinister laugh, reveling in the ominous atmosphere. Jiyu, smirking confidently, as he declared that his story was taking a huge turn because he had given up on seeking revenge. Feeling the weight of his fierce determination, Jiyu proclaimed that the heavens above seemed to be urging him to pursue his vengeance. The dragon trembled at the sight before him as lamented about missing his mommy. Feeling confident and eager, Jiyu confidently pointed at the glowing blue accept button, signaling his determination to proceed with the contract. Jiyu stands in the center of a glowing magical circle, surrounded by a pink hue, as he intensely focuses on casting a spell. The scene intensifies as Jiyu, standing bravely on the glowing magical symbol, faces the looming, menacing giant creature with fearless determination. System announced that Urus had relinquished his physical form, marking a profound and ominous transformation. Jiyu stands confidently, facing a massive, withering glowing creature amidst the tense and mystical landscape, embodying defiance in the face of an overwhelming threat. Just then the system announced that Urus' soul had entered the stick, signifying the completion of his powerful infusion. A mystical aura enveloped the weapon that Jiyu held. We can now see the stick displaying the ego rank. With infinite usage, seeing this he gives a sinister smile. Just then we see monsters cheering at the main character. Shadowy figure, filled with dark energy and emanating fury, proclaimed that he would seek revenge to ensure his master's justice. Jiyu stood resolutely against the towering monstrous beings that claimed they were there for revenge. Jiyu, feeling confident and smug, declared that they would proceed exactly as planned, embodying his bold and fearless attitude. Jiyu, filled with fury and determination, raised his weapon triumphantly against a backdrop of skulls, seeking revenge. We transition to outside as we see players talking among themselves. The man, dressed in armor and appearing commanding and serious, announced that an SSS-class bounty had been issued nationwide to alert everyone. With a serious and urgent tone, he explained that the notorious player-killer had murdered over 800,000 users in a single day and emphasized the need to capture him, while the tense atmosphere was heightened by the sight of a wanted poster of the dangerous criminal. The wanted list has been distributed worldwide, revealing the extent of the dangerous criminal's reach through numerous posters displayed on a brick wall. Passionately announced that the reward for the quest was 10 billion gold, heightening the excitement in the scene. The characters were stunned by the staggering value of 10 billion gold, which the one explained was equivalent to 10 billion won in real cash, leaving them in awe. Just then we see figures walking in a unity protected in heavy armor. Noticing the crest on their armor, one guy and his friends reacted with shock, realizing they were likely the guard knights of the royal palace. He pointed out that the man leading the knights was drawing attention with his confident stride, clad in a long cloak. Realizing her identity, a bypasser confidently declared herself to be the leader of the sacred guild, radiating pride and poise. Noticing the red cloaks with white crosses, which belonged to the elite 10-member Crusaders Guild known as Cross Line, the characters reacted in shock, recognizing the formidable foe before them. Soho, confidently introducing himself as the leader of the Cross Line Guild, stood proud in a close-up, signaling his readiness for the confrontation ahead. Leading the ominous procession with unwavering confidence, a purple-haired wielded her staff of authority, as she advanced with commanding authority. Abracadabra, the most powerful mage of the royal family, and leader of the Holy Land Guild, the crowd proudly revealed her identity by declaring her name. Hong, the confident and charismatic leader of the righteous bandits, as the crowd also revealed her identity with a proud smile, asserting that she was the leader of the righteous bandits. Walking down a line of knights, Hawkeye, standing confidently and exuding authority, proclaimed himself as the ruler of Castle Arden and the leader of the Justice Guild, emphasizing his proud leadership. The crowd was in shock. The scene was charged with tension as the announcer declared that the 5 strongest guilds in the world had all gathered there at that moment. Hawkeye, standing confidently and shouting with authority, declared that the orders he was issuing were from the leader of the World Guild Alliance. He announced that their guilds would unite, rallying the armored knights on horseback with banners. Warriors and banners gathered with determined resolve, readying themselves for the crucial mission to capture the unprecedented player-killer. He declared that they were declaring war against the criminal, as a wanted poster displaying the hooded figure's face loomed ominously. We cut to Jiyu standing alone in the corridor, laughing maniacally with euphoric triumph, reveling in his dark victory. Noticing Urus's playful demeanor and cheerful remark, Jiyu appeared surprised and confused by the unexpected comment that seemed to mock his happiness. Urus, the cheerful and confident twin-headed dragon, introduced himself with a bright expression, saying that he was Urus, the twin-headed dragon. Jiyu was stunned and intrigued as the playful spirit explained that her soul now resided within his weapon, revealing she was the weapon's spirit, and he humorously asking if he had just popped out of it. Jiyu, amused by the playful spirit's explanation that only he could see and hear her and that her soul now resided within his ego-ranked weapon, continued to poke the small magical creature while he cheerfully added that she was a lot squishier now. Jiyu, still curious about the creature's unusual appearance, asked where its other head was, joking that he thought it was a twin-headed dragon. King surprised, and curious also asked where his head was but neither knew. Jiyu, surprised by the small creature hovering near a floating object, reacted instinctively to the unexpected paper while Urus watched attentively nearby. Jiyu, curious about the mysterious paper on the ground, reached out and exclaimed that he was questioning what it was, as Urus watched him closely. Boom, you're wanted for a lot. This shocked the main character, but we all saw this coming. I mean, you killed 800,000 people. Urus, appearing anxious and worried, warned that with such a huge reward, the entire user base would come after them, emphasizing the urgency of their predicament. Meanwhile, Urus, with a mischievous grin, casually suggested that they take the opportunity to bring about the extinction of humankind, while Jiyu remained unfazed, calmly eating his snack. Jiyu, pondering the massive explosion from before, wondered if it was related to the moment he first dropped the wooden stick, questioning whether that event had triggered the surge to 800,000 users. Noticing something amiss in the village, he reflected that the vibe felt off, sensing that an unsettling atmosphere was present. Feeling amused and relaxed, he remarked that the situation wasn't half bad and suddenly felt like a celebrity, while Urus watched him curiously. Contemplating a change, he decided that since there was no turning back, he might as well adopt a secretly OP persona, all while smiling happily and eating. Urus, looking curious and confused as he asked about the meaning of OP, was pondering a secret that seemed to carry significant weight. Jiyu, confidently holding a food item and looking at Urus, declared that OP, meaning overpowered, made him look like a noob but secretly endowed him with wild powers, adding a playful tone to his boast. Urus, curious and bold, questioned why Jiyu would want to hide his powers, believing that humans looked down on opponents who appeared weak. Jiyu, smiling playfully while holding a food item, imparted that Urus had a lot to learn and that the fun of it all was in the learning process. Jiyu, excitedly explaining that in certain comics the main character appears weak but is actually very strong, was animatedly discussing comic tropes with Urus, who hovered beside him with curiosity. Just in the midst of him imparting wisdom to Urus, he is rudely shot in the back. Urua, visibly shocked and confused, stands in disbelief. Jiyu was depicted in shock, bleeding from his mouth, clearly reeling from a critical injury that left him terrified and vulnerable in the ominous scene. As he collapsed to the floor, Urus called out for him. Hawkeye stood confidently atop a building, having just taken a precise shot with his glowing bow, and he declared that he had hit the bull's eye, celebrating his success with pride. Seconds later, a group of forces stormed in. An aerial view revealed a tense scene where Hawkeye led the archers with focused determination. Hawkeye, with a fierce expression and passion, asserted his leadership role by declaring himself as the supreme commander of the Guild Alliance. He issued a stern command, declaring that the vicious murderer responsible for killing over 800,000 players should be arrested and confined. Concerned and anxious, Urus knelt beside Jiyu, who was lying motionless and helpless, urgently calling out that he needed to get up and seeking help. Just then, getting up with an arrow inside him. The enemies grew worried as they noticed his rising. Furious, Hawkeye shouted that Jiyu should not even be allowed to catch his breath, intensifying the scene's tension. With a single command he shouted for them to attack. Worried Urus called out to the main character. Jiyu, appearing intense and confrontational, demanded that he forget what he had said earlier, revealing his frustration and tense mood. Jiyu, determined and furious, grips a blood-stained arrow and pulls it out from him. Tossing the arrow and gripping his overpowered stick, he reflected wistfully on his decision to keep his powers secret and live a quiet life, despite the massive army before him. Jiyu, with a menacing grin emphasizing his vindictive mood, declared that they had brought this upon themselves, heightening the ominous confrontation. We then see a huge earth-shattering explosion as the enemies vaporize. From afar it looks like they've just been hit with a nuclear weapon. The scene depicted a chaotic aftermath of battle with several fallen characters sprawled on the ground amid a thick, ominous mist, as the group assessed the devastation with concern, worry, and focus. Hawkeye, lying injured and visibly pained, was struggling to recover as he coughed repeatedly, embodying a sense of despair and determination. Lying on the ground with a bewildered expression after experiencing a sudden flash before his eyes, was confused and questioning his surroundings. The explosion erupted with a deafening boom, causing a massive crater in the ground and heightening the ominous atmosphere. Hawkeye, nearly about to pass out from the sight before him, was horrified as he knelt in despair, reacting to the destruction that revealed the capital of the First Kingdom had vanished. As a single foot shook the earth, it made Hawkeye tremble, as our badass main character stood in the aftermath unscathed and aura farming. Suddenly, with a split-second decision, he reached in his pocket, lifted a shiny round orb almost like an ender pearl off Minecraft, and cracked it as his last resort. Bright flash of light suddenly illuminated the scene, indicating that Hawkeye was unleashing his powerful magic within the magic circle. Hawkeye stands amidst glowing magical circles, intensifying the mystical atmosphere as he concentrates on channeling his magic. The man, displaying determination and authority, shouted a command summoning all guild members of the World Guild Alliance, urgently calling for their aid in the impending crisis. Hawkeye, focused and intense, cast a powerful mass teleport spell, signaling a desperate attempt to regroup and escape the mounting threat. We see that many knights in shining armor is being summoned from every angle, but Jiyu is unfazed about this. From a zoomed out we can see the whole guild. The scene reveals an impressive expanse as the guild has summoned approximately 3 million members, emphasizing the magnitude of their army. With one point of his finger, he directed everyone to attack just this singular man. Facing an overwhelming army, he stood resolutely with a determined expression, embodying defiance against the advancing knights. Jiyu remains calm, lost in thought, his contemplative expression reflecting the weight of the moment as he silently grapples with his inner resolve. With one motion of his arm, a ripple of shockwaves are seen, blasting opponents left and right. Another attack without cooldown, sending nearly half the army flying. As a group of enemies sneak past the attack and charge at our boy, Jiyu stands confidently, confronting his adversaries with a defiant look while onlookers watch him intently, and Urus observes nervously, ready for any sudden move. Smiling menacingly, he gripped the stick like unsheathing a katana. They plunged into the chaos of battle, overwhelmed by a burst of light and energy that engulfed them in a dramatic descent. Abracadabra, the confident and powerful mage, performed a magical incantation with a glowing artifact, her determined expression emphasizing the mysterious atmosphere of the scene. A powerful magical circle was activated by Abracadabra, the most powerful mage of the royal family, who cast a potent spell with intense focus, supported by her loyal allies, amidst an ominous atmosphere. Noticing this immense pressure of magic, we can see the scale of the attack above our boy looking dangerous. Abracadabra, the confident and fierce mage known as the leader of the Holy Land Guild, cast a powerful spell using the archaic art of disintegration, intensifying the scene's tension. After the casting, we can see the Ice Arat activating. As our main characters watched in awe at the size of the magic, a powerful magic beam illuminated the sky as Jiyu, determined and focused, prepared to harness the awe-inspiring force unfolding before him. Jiyu, clearly impressed by the spell's impressive name, expressed his admiration with astonishment. Jiyu, standing confidently and contemplating his abilities, decided that he should also come up with a name for his skills. Suddenly, lifting his arm barely using any force given his strength, a powerful beam of light erupted toward the earth as he commanded to swing up, unleashing a massive energy attack with epic intensity. The magic circle pierced like Gojo was not able to withstand the immense pressure, and cracked from the intensity. Abracadabra, the powerful mage and leader of the Holy Land Guild, reacted in shock and frustration after realizing that her magic crest had been cracked amidst the intense pressure. The tense scene saw Abracadabra commanding her fellow mages to prepare for a potent invocation, as they readied the invocation staff for the next powerful ritual. Jiyu, focused and determined, raised his stick in the air with an intense expression, ready to swing down and attack. A massive explosion erupted suddenly, illuminating the horizon with an overwhelming burst of power. He unleashed a surge of powerful magic that ignited the air with a fiery explosion, leaving an intense and tumultuous scene behind. The scene depicted a battlefield littered with fallen warriors, and it was clear that the defeat was not just a loss but a sheer massacre, with the entire World Guild Alliance having been slain. Hawkeye, injured and visibly shaken, fought his disbelief amid a dramatic sunset, desperately repeating that he couldn't accept what he was witnessing. Standing before the man, he shouted at Jiyu, refusing to accept this sort of outcome. Jiyu, appearing concerned, revealed that he had kept the person alive by exerting great energy to suppress his powers, emphasizing his protective resolve amid the tense situation. Jiyu, sensing Hawkeye's desperate and terrified question about whether he would be killed, remained silent, intensifying the tense atmosphere as his fear and confusion grew. Jiyu smirked smugly at him, who was visibly distressed and overwhelmed, and he arrogantly questioned whether it was not obvious that he had already won. Jiyu, furious and accusing, confronted the unseen attacker and demanded answers, asserting that he was the one who had shot him with the arrow earlier. Tense and overwhelmed, Hawkeye exhibited a fearful expression, clearly showing his panic amid the ongoing chaos. Wounded and struggling, Hawkeye grimaced in pain after taking a critical blow, his injury vividly visible and blood staining his armor. A powerful divine force is being unleashed from the cosmic background, intensifying the scene's atmosphere with overwhelming energy. Urus excitedly praised Jiyu for taking them all down, while Jiyu, holding a wooden stick and appearing pleased, responded with a confident acknowledgement and mild surprise at the praise. A white shoe's foot making a deliberate step onto the ground signals someone is about to make a significant entrance, heightening the anticipatory mood. Jiyu, looking intensely and filled with determination, took a decisive step forward, heightening the suspense in the scene. Jiyu remained steadfast as the person descended towards them with commanding authority, while Urus watched nervously, their tense confrontation looming ominously. Startled by the shocking revelation, Jiyu looked surprised against the colorful sunset background as he realized there was one more left. Jiyu, with an irritated expression in his eye, muttered that he found the situation extremely annoying. Jiyu stands resolute against an unseen threat, his silhouette framed by fallen swords and the setting sun, while the mysterious goddess observes with concern. Goddess of Life stands confidently, exuding power and grace as she presents herself as a majestic and commanding figure, holding her staff adorned with golden elements. Jiyu, with an intense and determined expression illuminated by the dramatic light, stared confrontingly, embodying the resolve to face the challenge ahead. She, the goddess of life, smirked knowingly with a cryptic smile that hinted at her mysterious intentions. Goddess of Life appeared with a teasing smile and declared that it had been a while, playfully addressing Jiyu with a smug expression. He clenched his hand tightly around the wooden stick, embodying a sense of determination against the vibrant sunset backdrop. Jiyu shone with a contemplative expression against the mountains. Jiyu, with a smug smile emphasizing his confident demeanor, exuded a victorious aura as he mocked his situation with a triumphant laugh. Jiyu faces the goddess amidst a battlefield strewn with fallen warriors, both confronting the grim aftermath of the devastating conflict. The goddess, radiating warmth and cheerfulness, greeted him and asked how they had been, engaging in a friendly conversation. Recognizing the coincidence, she remarked that she never thought they would meet again in such a place. Jiyu, with a defiant expression, confronted the other person and accused her of deliberately seeking him out, dismissing her claim of coincidence as utter nonsense. The goddess, facing forward with a serene expression, questioned whether what appeared to be happening was truly what it seemed, her curiosity evident. Jiyu, with a furious and confrontational expression, declared that he honestly wanted to bash his opponent's skull in immediately but acknowledged that since they were already talking, he would hold back. Noticing a change in her appearance, Jiyu, with a curious expression, asked the goddess if she had dyed her hair, while she, surprised by his remark, having claimed her advancement to the hidden class of goddess of life after killing him. The girl suddenly expressed surprise as her hair color changed unexpectedly after she advanced. Listening to all the yap, let out a sigh of relief. Clearly done talking. Swinging his stick through the air with immense strength, Jiyu, standing in tattered clothes and holding a wooden stick, sarcastically questioned the goddess of life about her title and actions, implying that her role should be called the goddess of death for killing 1,000 players. Goddess smiled gently under a warm glow, expressing her joy as she remarked on how amusing it was that things often work out in unexpected ways. Questioning her idea of fun, he struck the ground with force, causing a massive explosion that echoed through the intense scene while the goddess jumped away dodging. Jiyu, displaying a fierce and confrontational expression, declared that it was time to end the playful act and issued a challenge to his opponent. Startled by the sudden surprise, she sarcastically stated, "Was time really up, so fast?" An explosive blast erupted from the mountains, dramatically shaking the world and signaling a catastrophic event. Jiyu, determined and focused, raised his stick dramatically. As he looked through the smoke, we see the goddess still talking. Just then appearing behind our boy, the goddess, with a nostalgic yet urgent expression, approached Jiyu and expressed that she still had so much she wanted to tell him. Turning around without warning and not caring what she said, he swung his stick creating a devastating attack, while the goddess just stood there. Jiyu, standing confidently amidst the dusty landscape, Urus celebrated the victory, noting that she was out after his successful shot. Jiyu, confidently holding his stick with a smug expression, dismissed his unseen opponent with a boastful remark, asserting that the challenge was insignificant. We then see from a distance a figure standing there. Stunned our boy, seeing the girl stand before him still. Standing alone on the barren ground, he faced the goddess with unwavering resolve as she stood defiantly, exuding confidence amidst the swirling dust. The goddess smiled warmly, proud of the progress he had made, and she praised him for becoming much stronger. Goddess, confident and defiant, proclaimed that her resilience was unbreakable and that nothing could kill her. Despite his frustration and desire for space, Jiyu was annoyed by Urus panicking and urgently demanding that he remove his foot from his mouth while reassuring him that she was still alive. As this went on, the goddess watched from far away as she gave them a slight smile. As Urus noticed this, he flinched in surprise at the girl. Startled by the realization that he had made eye contact, he was shocked and confused, questioning how anyone besides Jiyu could have seen him. Jiyu looked puzzled while holding a small creature and remarked that the situation was really strange, questioning how she could still be standing unscathed after his attack, while she remained calm and composed, standing resolutely in the desolate landscape. The goddess, standing confidently over a beautiful landscape, proclaimed her new title as the Goddess of Life, asserting her divinity with unwavering authority. She challenged the notion that a mere human could threaten her divine existence, her eye blazing with smug confidence and intense emotion. Hearing this yapping going in, he could only look in disbelief and awe. Jiyu, frustrated and playful, raised his stick while expressing that he was becoming increasingly annoyed. Jiyu, determined and fierce, unleashed a powerful attack as the goddess watched with amusement. Jiyu, with unwavering resolve and fierce determination, charged forward into battle wielding his weapon. Guys, is this the part where he awakens a hidden ability? The explosion erupted with a deafening boom as Jiyu, gritted and determined yet fearful, was seen causing the destructive force. Jiyu, fierce and resolute, and swinging faster than lighting itself, unleashed a barrage of acts. Surely this would work right. A massive explosion radiates outward from the world, unleashing chaotic energy that threatens to engulf everything in its destructive wake. Urus, panicked and terrified by the violent shaking, expressed his fear that the entire continent was trembling so violently that they might all be swallowed into the chaos. The goddess smirked confidently, asserting her dominance and dismissing any opposition by declaring that his efforts were futile. Radiating holy aura even though she has 1,000 bodies to her name, she unleashed her enormous wings. Flexing even further, she then hovered above him and looked down on him like a bug. Our boy, looking tired and out of breath, couldn't ponder what to do next. We know he wishes he had wings as well. Goddess, playfully teasing Jiyu with a mischievous smile, mocked him by suggesting he had been thinking about her constantly since they met, and implied he wanted to kill her desperately. The goddess, standing imposingly on the barren landscape and dressed in white heels, issued a foreboding command for surrender, asserting that no matter how much time passed or how strong he became, he should give up. Standing defiantly with her staff in hand, boldly declared that she would never be able to be killed. After putting our boy through torture, she began belittling him, calling him weak. Gus's intense gaze reflected his unwavering determination as he focused entirely on this girl, thinking what to do next. Shutting his eyes after not being able to handle her radiating beauty and aura, Gus sighed wistfully while standing before the calm and understanding goddess, expressing his frustration in silence. He shifted his weight subtly, his bare feet stirring up dust as he prepared to pivot with focused alertness. Gus confidently strode away from the calm and watchful goddess, as we think he is about to give up. The goddess, with a teasing smile and a playful tone, challenged him by asking where he was going and whether he was finally going to give up now. And guys, what did I say? Maybe this is where he unlocks a overpowered power, as we see he is warming up his arm. Gus, determined to succeed, announced that he would unleash his full strength this time, believing that only a powerful swing could result in a clean split into two. The goddess, frustrated and authoritative, sharply questioned Gus's resolve, emphasizing that he would never be able to kill her, despite his defiant and resolute stance. Gus, with intense determination and a powerful aura, proclaimed that he would destroy not just her but the entire planet. Hearing this revelation startles the goddess, as she thinks this guy is not right in the head. Startled, she held her staff tightly as she faced the calm yet regal main character, questioning him with a surprised voice. Gus, with a confident smirk, declared that if he could not kill his opponent directly, he would resort to destroying the entire planet. We cut to the goddess, while Gus, with a serious and commanding expression, warned that the explosion could either cause her to be caught in the blast or be flung into space, and that either outcome would mean she was gone. The goddess, speaking with a poised and inquisitive expression, asked what was being discussed, indicating her curiosity about the conversation unfolding before her. The goddess scornfully questioned whether a mere human like Gus could truly accomplish such a feat, challenging his resolve and abilities. Gus, with fierce determination and defiance, prepared to swing his weapon with all his strength, asserting that he had made himself clear. Transitions to just a couple of moments ago where we see the main character about to destroy the world. Showing her true colors as revealing her mask, she looks at the main character with a face full of hate, like he was about to destroy the planet, or something. The goddess warned Gus that if he were to destroy the planet, he would end up dead as well, emphasizing that such an act would not be revenge but pure suicide. Gus, standing thoughtfully, the goddess questioned whether he was truly willing to go that far for their own selfish satisfaction. As we see our maniac boy smiling like a villain, he let out a smile laugh. Alright guys, I think we all know where this is going. Standing there in just underwear and laughing out loud, he urged the goddess to listen up, calling her a kid, when he himself is most likely not that older. The goddess looked sternly at our boy, as he asserted his authority with disdain as he declared that there are always little trolls like her who do not understand how things work. Gus, determined and defiant, raised a large stick high in the air, challenging fate amidst the tense atmosphere. Gus, with a confident smirk and a fearless stance, warned his opponent that he had nothing to lose and that no one should mess with someone in that position. Now facing the reality and finally realizing that we was dealing with a S-class lunatic, the goddess, alarmed and hesitant, reached out with her hand in a tense moment, desperately pleading for a pause. The protagonist, determined and fierce, was channeling his energy to unleash a devastating attack, intensifying the scene's overall tension. With a single tap of his unbreakable stick, he started an Avenger-level earthquake which could be heard felt all over the world. The goddess, who is surprised and captivated, gazes in awe at the dramatic scene unfolding before her, her eyes wide with astonishment. Jiyu, with a fierce grin amid the fiery background, fully embraced his newfound abilities, exuding determination and aggression. A powerful explosion of energy radiates outward, dramatically disrupting the landscape and emphasizing the destructive force Jiyu has unleashed with his strike. The scene intensifies as the earth is shown being violently torn apart by an explosive surge of energy, emanating from its core, underscoring the overwhelming destructive power at play. And, boom! Our boy has actually done the unthinkable, obliterating the entire world. A stream of green binary code cascades down the panel, as the game is shutting down. We transition to a modern room filled with virtual reality capsules, emphasizing an atmosphere of innovation as someone watches from the counter. As the poor man sleeping was startled awake as a loser shouted to know what was going on, expressed their frustration aloud, with one claiming he had been kicked off of Chrono Life and another echoing his complaint, both clearly overwhelmed and upset in their futuristic gaming pods. The two frustrated gamers argued loudly over their recent battles, with them demanding to know what was happening, accusing the poor clerk of disrupting their fight against the boss, while the clerk casually observed the chaos from nearby. The man, visibly nervous, pleaded with the crowd to remain calm, insisting he had not cut the power or caused any disturbance amidst the mounting tension. Given the tense mood and the characters' concern about the server issue, the scene shifts to their discussion, with them questioning whether the Chrono Life servers are down and expressing disbelief at the sudden disruption. Looking surprised and holding his phone, one excitedly revealed that something had just been posted on the Chrono Life website, drawing the curiosity of others. A digital notice from the Chrono Life staff appeared on the screen, informing all users that the servers were undergoing emergency maintenance, apologizing for the interruption and promising an update on reopening soon. Noticing the server outage, Ajiel expressed her shock that the servers were truly down, and another shared her disbelief, both worried about the impact on Chrono Life. Suddenly we then see one man inside as he somehow is still playing inside playing the game. We transition to green code showing across the screen again. The glowing blue interface confirmed that the main system was activating, adding to the intriguing mood. After booting it started scanning the server for any users online, while then revealing that currently there was only one user online. I think we all know who this is. We cut to Jiyu standing alone in the digital landscape filled with binary code, confronting his fate with a resolute and introspective demeanor amidst the ominous atmosphere. Jiyu, standing amidst the digital landscape filled with binary code and questioning his surroundings, remained lost and bewildered as he searched for answers. Jiyu, appearing confused and scratching his head, questioned whether what he had just experienced was real, still puzzled by the strange sensation that he had, before being cut off by someone mentioning a word, ST3-8-9, which shocked him. The unknown figure boldly confronted Jiyu, accusing him of destroying a planet that was renowned for its beauty even in the fourth universe, and he listened unfazed to his defiant words. Feeling frustrated and confused, he demanded to know why he had done that, while he remained silent and unmoved in the tense confrontation. The man, with a sentimental expression, reflected on the past and revealed that the planet was his mother's favorite place. Looking at the man while not giving a damn at what he was saying, Jiyu demanded to know the identity of the mysterious figure who remained stoic and silent, heightening the suspense of the confrontation. We can then transition to the yellow-haired man, smiling like the worst villain. Looking like the statue off of Solo Leveling, he revealed that he was a god. This guy is definitely no good. Unfazed, our boy scoffed and smirked at what he was hearing, like this was just a casual Tuesday to him. Despite his frustration and demand for information, the god remained calm and indifferent, ignoring Jiyu's aggressive inquiry about a missing girl. Jiyu questioned whether it was just the two of them here, as the god calmly confirmed their isolation in the digital environment. Jiyu noticed a notification indicating a user's online status, which sparked his curiosity and prompted him to react to the alert. God confronted Jiyu with accusatory words, demanding to know why he was acting so shocked, as he firmly stated that he was the one who had killed everyone. As the god went on yapping, our boy just let out a devilish smirk. Noticing our boy's indifference, this left the god shocked and speechless as he questioned the laughter. Protagonist's sinister laughter echoed ominously as God loomed over the maniac and crazy Jiyu, whose disbelief was heightened by his menacing presence. Jiyu, overwhelmed with exhilaration and a sense of empowerment, triumphantly raised his stick and declared that he had achieved his revenge. Jiyu, standing confidently with a smile and holding his stick, excitedly called out to Urus, proclaiming that he had finally achieved his revenge. The stick was silent as our boy was a little slow on the uptake. He steadily called out for Urus as the god, with a smirk that conveyed confidence and provocation, told Jiyu once again that they were the only two present at bay, meaning that little Urus was nowhere to be found. Jiyu, holding a wooden stick and looking confused, questioned why another user was present online despite the display indicating only one user was active. Jiyu, curious and bewildered, questioned the god with an assertive tone, asking whether he was an NPC or an admin. The god, with long hair and a confident, defiant expression, asserted his identity by declaring that he was either of the options presented. But then as usual something interrupts the god, causing him to let out a sign while smiling vaguely. Feeling frustrated, the smiling god muttered that it seemed someone was already trying to get in his way. Just then a flash of light enveloped everything, catching Jiyu off guard and shocking him. The god, with a radiant and wise expression, made a farewell statement, acknowledging that although he hated to go, he believed their encounter had been for a good reason. The god, cheerful and playful as he waved goodbye, called out to our boy urging him to say hello to the furry guy for him. Startled and confused, Jiyu shouted for attention as he reacted to a sudden disturbance, telling the god to wait a second. A stark blue screen with a log-out message appeared, indicating that the protagonist had been logged out unexpectedly. We then cut back to the capsule room. Then see our boy sat on the futuristic seat, wearing a headset as the capsule door swung open. Removing his visor, he sat there pouting, as a grown man at the situation. Feeling frustrated and confused, he questioned why God had appeared only to vanish so quickly, wondering what the point of the encounter had been. Jiyu, as he questioned who the mysterious furry guy God mentioned was, as we then see some big shots sitting there, as he was waiting for our boy. Man getting up from his seat, approached our boy with hands in his pockets or farming. Talking, the man began doxing our boy saying his info, a 21-year-old who had been playing Chrono Life for 3 months, and that his current weapon was a +99 wooden stick, which hearing that sounds crazy guys. Jiyu looked up at the mysterious figure, uncertain if he was the furry guy he suspected, while the mob boss questioned if he was Jiyu. Jiyu, nervously responding to an unexpected presence, questioned the unknown figure who stood confidently and unbothered, demanding to know who he was. The guy, with a confident and defiant stance, pulled his sunglasses down from his face as he declared that he was the man, there to take away the protagonist's wooden stick, emphasizing his authoritative and cunning demeanor. We cut to outside Grandma's soup restaurant, as we see the two sitting down with an awkwardly amount of unnecessary men accompanying them. The mob boss, showing concern, urged our boy to eat, emphasizing that the old lady running the place cooked a mean bowl of soup. Feeling bewildered, Jiyu looked surprised while holding a spoon near his mouth, questioning how he had ended up in this confusing situation. The guy reflected on his past, recalling that he used to come here all the time when he was broke, as Jiyu listened attentively, sensing the nostalgic mood. He went on, reflecting nostalgically on how he had been coming to the same place for 15 years, sharing that he started visiting when he was broke while eating with a thoughtful expression. The old man recalled that he first came to this place when he started the company for Chrono Life, which was then in its early development stages. Shocking Jiyu with this. Jiyu, appearing surprised and anxious, questioned him with a tense voice, unsure if the calm man was revealing a shocking truth. The now not mob boss, confident and assertive, introduced himself as the CEO of Chrono Life, Diakbi. Jiyu, overwhelmed by the revelation that Diakbi was the CEO of Chrono Life rather than a mob boss, questioned in shock about the identity of the men in suits surrounding him. We then see the employees of Chrono Life, 3 men in suits being pointed out. Feeling frightened and confused, Jiyu explained that he had been scared because he thought Diakbi was a mob, and he demanded to know what the CEO of Chrono Life wanted with him. Diakbi, with a calm and contemplative expression, questioned whether it was not obvious, and if he had not previously explained his reasons at the arcade. Diakbi, adopting a serious tone, announced that he was there to confiscate the wooden stick, highlighting the tense confrontation at the table. Jiyu reacted with surprise and confusion, clearly seeking clarification as he asked for further explanation. Diakbi, asserting his authority and confidence, explained that as the ones responsible for the game, their course of action was to remove the bugged item, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. Jiyu, shocked and frustrated, demanded answers after realizing that the item he had reinforced was not bugged, despite Diapi's calm and assertive explanation that they had to remove the faulty item due to its issues. Just then Diapi said the words 3%. Diapi explained that once the reinforcement level reached plus 10, the official success rate for the next level drops to 3%, and this percentage continues to decrease as the levels increase, intensifying the tense atmosphere among the observers. Diapi, with an imposing gaze, delivered a warning that made it clear he expected full comprehension of his message. Jiyu appeared shocked and anxious, with sweat beads on his face, as he listened intently to a tense revelation from the man. The man, filled with interest, questioned how Jiyu could have achieved such an unexpectedly high success rate, suspecting it might be a bug. Diapi, adopting a serious tone, announced that he would be confiscating the plus 99 reinforced wooden stick. The scene shifts to a scenic view of ancient ruins surrounded by lush greenery and mountains, emphasizing the mysterious atmosphere. A fearsome beast named Gorus made a powerful entrance with a thud, its threatening presence heightening the ominous atmosphere. Characters, sensing an imminent threat, reacted with alarm and determination as the group braced themselves for the approaching danger. A large, monstrous creature is shown from behind, charging forward with an ominous presence that suggests impending danger. A mage, fierce and determined, brandished her wand surrounded by flames as she launched a fiery attack, shouting out her attack's name with intense resolve. She launched the fireball with all her might, striking the large beast, burning him alive. The powerful and imposing beast roared in fury, expressing his wrath with a thunderous cry that echoed menacingly. Celebrating the success, the guy called out with excitement that they had really got him. Without warning, a girl charged her ki like it was Dragon Ball, and dashed forward towards the beast. They ran with a purpose, a plan, to take down the ferocious beast. Feeling alarmed and panicking, the man shouted in despair, questioning what their fighter was doing since she couldn't just attack on her own. Just then we lose all hope in this woman as she is hit, getting tossed in the air like pizza dough, heading towards her own team and completing her mission unsuccessfully. We then see our boy watching the chaotic scene unfold. As he thinks about what the hell he is witnessing right this second, letting out a sigh, he laments about what to do now. I guess being too strong has its cons. Munching on some tasty food. Startled and confused, Urus, who was holding a bone and appeared inquisitive, prompting him to ask what Jiyu meant. Jiyu examined the plus 99 reinforced wooden stick with a contemplative expression, noting its impressive durability and ranking as a powerful item. We cut back to the meeting as our boy stands there silently in disbelief. Jiyu looked surprised as Diakbi mentioned that at least that was what the company wanted to do, while he listened calmly, maintaining his confident composure amidst the tense atmosphere. Diakbi, with a determined expression, declared that he had a different idea, signaling a shift in the tense situation. Jiyu appeared surprised and confused as he reacted with a puzzled expression, clearly seeking clarification after hearing the unexpected revelation. Diakbi explained confidently that after examining it, he had discovered the wooden stick was merely a regular item, not a bug at all. Diakbi announced decisively that they would no longer interfere with the users, signaling a significant shift in their approach. Saying that their freedom was up to the user, this shocked our boy. Jiyu was startled and reacted with surprise to Diakbi's gesture of the food. Diakbi confidently held a plate of food and expressed his belief that he should have the freedom to add kimchi sauce to his soup, emphasizing that he wanted to give the same liberty to others in their game experience. As our boy stared in awe at everything, accepted the plate of kimchi. As they shared an intimate moment between the two, the angry elderly woman scolded Diakbi, who was flustered and surprised, for pouring kimchi sauce into his soup, and responded with a shocked expression as she delivered a smack to him. Jiyu, holding a stick with a serious expression, looked contemplative and resolute as he questioned the concept of freedom, getting interrupted from his aura-farming moment by a shout from someone. The group, irritated and pointing at the fighter, demanded to know what kind of play she had just executed, intensifying the tense confrontation among the group. Man, frustrated and irate, shouted at the girl for going in alone during the party battle, accusing her of sabotaging their chances and questioning whether she was intentionally trolling the team. We transitioned to the conversation again as Diakbi expressed that although it might sound like bragging, he believed their team had done an excellent job turning Chrono Life into an enjoyable game. Diakbi described the fantasy world with excitement and inspiration, highlighting its allure as a place of freedom, excitement, and exploration that everyone has dreamed of at least once in their life. Diakbi suggested that our boy should take a step back from all the smashing and destroying and instead take his time to enjoy the game. Back to the present, we see someone spitting on the poor girl for her actions earlier. Deja vu sets in as we are flipped off again from the same guy, The man angrily insulted the girl and declared that he was kicking her out of their party, while she looked on with concern. The Flipper man led the group away smugly, dismissing Pink Hair with harsh words and leaving her behind. Feeling hurt and rejected, the girl looked away in sorrow after the system message told she was kicked from the party. Jiyu, lost in thought and questioning his feelings, pondered whether his exploration was driven by excitement or curiosity. Jiyu, appearing determined and intense, boldly declared that survival of the fittest was the real rule here, challenging the situation with defiance. Jiyu, raising his weapon with a confident and defiant expression, proclaimed that he would enjoy himself on his own terms and take full advantage of his newfound freedom, unleashing a life-threatening attack at the trash group. The attack closed in on the unaware party, their life about to come to an end. Just then, as a loud scream stopped our boy from attacking, he looked over searching for the source. The girl, frustrated with the game, expressed her irritation by shouting that it was a terrible piece of crap, as we watched from afar. Visibly angry, she shouted that those guys didn't know anything about the items in the game, expressing her frustration passionately. She, frustrated and assertive, questioned whether they understood how powerful the item she was holding truly was. She was tearful as she voiced her disappointment about spending so much on in-app purchases to obtain this. We are brought back as memories about our boy flashed through his mind, the girl reminding him of his former self. She, with pink hair and a frustrated expression, declared her independence passionately, insisting she would never join a party again and would instead farm alone. Just then her eyes widened as a low growl could be heard. The scene intensifies, revealing the pink hair standing shocked against the looming presence of the giant monster. Not just one but many monsters surround her. She freezes in fear as the monster opened its stinky mouth, letting out his horrendous breath. Ominous beasts emerged, unleashing terrifying roars that echoed through the darkened skies. As the beast hurriedly charged to her, she closed her eyes in fear, accepting her fate. Just then our main character swoops in just his white undies, with a stance and ready to strike. Jiyu, determined and focused, unleashed a strike with his weapon, swinging up and confronting the massive creatures. A massive explosion radiates intense light and energy from the planet below, signifying the unleashing of his devastating power amidst the ominous atmosphere. Standing there aura farming like usual, the girl opens her eyes, slowly analyzing the situation. Her eyes widened in shock as she reacted to the startling revelation. Jiyu gazed up at the radiant light in the sky, surrounded by falling leaves, as not one monster survived, looking smug at the girl like he's that guy. She was too stunned to speak, wondering what happened. As our boy turned to the girl, in just his underwear they stood facing each other. Jiyu, smiling confidently, greeted the girl with a bold and assured, "Hey," establishing his smug and relaxed demeanor in the scene. As he stands there, "This guy really needs to buy armor." She looked surprised and amazed as she processed the shocking moment. Jiyu, appearing determined and hopeful, made a warm and inviting proposal to her, asking if she would like to join his party, as she listened attentively with curiosity. And once again, as deja vu sets, she defiantly showed the middle finger while dismissing our boy with a harsh insult, making it evident she was not interested in playing with noobs. As she spat and began walking away, our boy was confused. Did she not see his display of strength? Just then we could gamer communities everywhere were actively discussing the event among themselves, as a pair of hands typed rapidly on a keyboard. We see a wanted poster of our boy revealed that over 800,000 people had been killed in the first wave and 3 million in the second. One Reddit mod, clearly frustrated with the game, questioned the fairness of our protagonist, accusing him of being a bugged character or cheating with hacks. While another pondered the improbable scenario, considering that there was no way one person could confront 3 million people at once. Girl, holding her smartphone and laughing derisively, mocked the hacker intensely, condemning Jiyu as a loser who should be banned from the game. A notice about Chrono Life drew all attention, as users anxiously anticipated their next move amidst the tense atmosphere. A formal announcement from Chrono Life finally appeared, indicating that the company had posted an update and intended to address the issues that had recently come to light. Mysterious message revealed that the protagonist, now gaining global attention, was actually an ordinary individual, emphasizing the surprising contrast between reputation and reality. The notification confirmed that the user's character was neither a bug nor the result of hacking and that they had not violated any in-game rules, providing reassurance about their legitimacy. This stunned everyone in the world. The controversy concluded, leaving everyone with lingering doubts in their minds under a peaceful yet contemplative sky. One guy, eager and confident, asked Baldy if he had heard the news, prompting him to respond with curiosity and attentiveness amid the lively town square. Guy began explaining that the server crash was caused by a specific individual, and Baldy, surprised, asked how that was possible. Cut to our main character who has no clue and just smiling. We see him following around the girl casually. I guess crimes don't exist in virtual reality like VRChat. The girl, furious and demanding an explanation, accused Jiyu of following her unexpectedly. Jiyu, smiling confidently and full of joy, asked if they were going to party and farm together, suggesting a playful and fun-filled plan. She angrily shouted that they had never agreed to farm together, and declared she would never work with a noob like him. Jiyu, stunned and defensive, was confronted by the girl, who mockingly pointed out that he was wearing nothing but a cape and underwear, revealing her playful teasing. She dismissively told the boy to get lost as she walked away angrily, leaving him stunned and speechless while standing quietly. Jiyu, confused and defensive, questioned why she called him a noob despite having just saved her by defeating all the monsters in a single swing. Urus remarked that he had been observing earlier, and pointed out that she appeared to have her eyes closed while he was saving her. Jiyu, lost in thought and contemplating his hidden strength, wondered if she truly had no idea how powerful he was. Jiyu, excited and eager about his newfound potential, expressed his hope that he could finally live out his secretly OP persona. Jiyu energetically hopped toward her, calling out to her with playful enthusiasm, but she continued walking away, seemingly indifferent to his excited antics. Jiyu, eager and hopeful, energetically asked for help, shouting that he needed her to boost him. Appearing surprised and confused, she asked for clarification with a questioning tone, seeking to understand what he asked. Jiyu, still eager and hopeful, asked the girl for assistance, pleading that she boost him since he was still a newcomer, and he knew she was a pro. Surprised by the compliment, and realizing her potential, she wondered if he had just called her a pro, her eyes sparkling with hope. Jiyu, confident and cunning, raised his arm smugly while Urus looked on with puzzled concern, with him revealing that he was pretending to be weak to maintain his secret operatic act. Urus, with a surprised expression, asked Jiyu if he was secretly OP, recalling a previous conversation about a hidden power he had mentioned. Despite the tense moment earlier, with a playful smirk and a humorous tone, she declared that although she was really putting herself in a bind, she felt it was her responsibility as a pro to help out our boy. Jiyu was surprised to receive an invitation from Love to their party, causing him to react with astonishment. Confident and playful, she announced that she would help out this time, citing her professionalism and cheerful demeanor. We are then shown our quote-unquote pro stats, indeed strong. Scene reveals the entrance to a mysterious dungeon framed by lush foliage, suggesting that the characters are about to venture into an unknown and potentially dangerous place. Love, fierce and determined, shouted fiercely as she launched a powerful attack with confidence. She, fierce and determined, delivered a decisive blow to the creature with unwavering confidence. The fierce bunny bear, resembling a bear with rabbit features, raises a terrifying screech. Love stood resolutely as the monstrous being roared menacingly, ready to confront the threat with unwavering bravery. Dodging out of the way from the attack, she exclaimed, almost caught off guard. Spinning around in the air, she delivered a powerful, falling dragon strike, crushing the monster's head into the ground. The beast surrounded her, and the roared. Feeling unfazed, she took to her stance. She confidently challenged her unseen opponent, declaring that she was a pro player who would take them down easily. Jiyu and Urus appeared to admire her, with Jiyu commenting that the person was pretty good. Despite the low threat level of the monsters, she was focused and brave as she kicked at them, as Jiyu stated it wasn't easy dealing with a mob of them. Urus, confidently reassuring Jiyu that he didn't need to worry because she possessed quite good items, left Jiyu listening intently with a curious expression. Urus revealing that its worth alone was about 10 million gold, which shocked Jiyu, who exclaimed that this amount was equivalent to 10 million won in real life. Observing Love's impressive combat skills and her possession of top-tier equipment valued at 100 million gold, Jiyu and his allies were left astonished, especially since they had believed she was a novice. Urus, with a sassy expression, pointed out that the obvious reason for her prowess was in-app purchases. This shocked our boy as he looked on. Jiyu looked utterly bewildered as he questioned whether someone really spent over 100 million won on a game. The girl playfully yelled at Jiyu, calling him an embarrassing insult, causing him to flinch and appear utterly flustered. Love, visibly frustrated and energetic, challenged her teammate by demanding that he stop sitting back and start fighting, even urging him to at least swing his wooden stick. Jiyu, holding a stick and visibly surprised, questioned whether he was really supposed to hit them with it, clearly confused about the task ahead. Love challenged Ji-yu to fight harder, insisting that if he wanted to become stronger quickly, he needed to fight more and stop remaining a noob forever. Ji, frustrated and outspoken, challenged the noob's complacency, arguing that noobs lack the will to grow stronger on their own, as a monster appeared behind them. Hitting the monster on the head sent it flying with immense power. That power shocked Ji-yu as Love looked on confused. Concerned by the sudden gusts, Love reacted anxiously, with her questioning why the wind had unexpectedly picked up in the dungeon. Just then a system boy pops up, reading the message. The girl's eyes look serious, as she lets out a small sigh. Ji-yu, who was reacting with confusion, as Love announced that she would log out for a while, as she prepared to leave. She informed Ji-yu that she would be back in about 30 minutes and advised him to practice fighting some monster mobs while she was gone. Ji-yu and Urus wondered aloud about her sudden departure, with Ji-yu amusedly questioning why she left so abruptly. Ji-yu wondered aloud about the wealthy girl's background, speculating that she might come from a rich family or have amassed her fortune through some extraordinary means. We cut to a woman lying in her bed. We assist a message having just logged out of the virtual world. The woman rises up, removing the headset from her, and seems to be pondering something. As the beautiful girl sighs, we see the quiet girl give a sly smile. Guys, this might be the girl from the game. Just then a lady burst through the door, scolding Love furiously, demanding to know what she was doing as the woman in a suit angrily confronted her with a scornful and intimidating attitude. She angrily scolded Love for still being in bed with the VR goggles, warning her that her obsession might ruin her career. Meanwhile, the two women continued to argue fiercely as they threw accusations around. Visibly annoyed and impatient, she was urgently demanding Love to sit down because they had less than 10 minutes left, while she, calm but irritated, responded with exasperation, telling her to pipe down already. The manager, amused, was scolding her friend for wearing glasses while gaming, reminding her that she should take them off to avoid leaving an indent on her nose. Feeling anxious, Love nervously adjusted her glasses and complimented her on how well she had managed to remove the indent from her glasses. Feeling frustrated and urgent, she snapped at Love, saying she couldn't stand her, telling them to take a seat because there was no time to waste. Ahe, exuding a threatening presence, revealed that if it weren't for the money, she probably would have strangled Love to death by now. We are shown a cluttered table is filled with various makeup items that are softly glistening, suggesting preparations for an upcoming event. As the manager grabs the glasses off her face, we are then shown the girl putting makeup on Love, depicting the expensive brand on the tool. As Love is getting dressed from lipstick, letting down her lavious hair which corresponds to her in-game character, we are then transported to a vibrant place. The lively scene shifts to an energetic announcement, revealing that tonight's final music bank performance is about to begin. The crowd erupted in celebration as the announcer declared that she had been in first place for 13 consecutive weeks, highlighting her incredible milestone on the euphoric stage. As the announcer enthusiastically praised her as a superstar solo idol and the most talented singer-songwriter of their age, the crowd cheered loudly, feeling the euphoric energy of the crowd as they enthusiastically welcomed Sarung-han onto the stage. Sarung, with a determined and affectionate expression, passionately declared her love, affirming that she was his first love singing her song. Sarung, confidently standing on stage with her guitar and a joyful expression, introduced herself enthusiastically by saying that she was Sarung-han, radiating excitement to the audience. We are then shown the beautiful woman our boy managed to party with. Coming back to the protagonist, we see a monster charging rapidly towards our boy. Ji-yu, smirking confidently, suggested that they get some real practice in while their pro was gone. Alarmed, Urus warned that the bunny bears were approaching, urgently questioning what kind of practice they were about to face. Ji-yu, smirking with a cunning expression, wondered aloud if he needed to continue pretending to be a newbie, clearly contemplating his next move in the deception. Ji-yu, standing confidently before the monstrous creatures, realized that he needed to improve his technique and emphasized that he must practice not killing these beings in one swing. A dramatic explosion of energy erupted from the planet's surface, unleashing immense power toward the cosmos. We are then shown God noticing this and giving a slight smile. The god, with a playful smile and confident stance, jokingly remarked that Ji-yu was trying not to kill them in one swing. The god, floating thoughtfully in the starry space, regarded the situation with curiosity and remarked that there was an interesting way to approach things. Questioned his mother behind him, looking for reassurance as we are shown the powerful presence behind him. The man congratulated Sarung on her impressive streak of 14 consecutive wins, expressing pride and admiration as she humbly thanked him amidst their celebratory mood. He, holding a microphone with excitement, was clearly impressed as he marveled at the emotional power of the singer's hit song, Mermaid's Tale, and questioned how she kept producing such chart-topping hits. Sarang, a cheerful girl with pink hair speaking into a microphone, expressed her happiness about enjoying her alone time at home, usually reading poetry or fairy tales during her leisure moments. With his playful confidence, he remarked that fairy tales must have inspired her song, Mermaid's Tale, causing Sarang to blush and react shyly, surprised by her openness despite her manager's warning not to mention fairy tales. Feeling shy and playful, Sarang apologized for her embarrassment, admitting that her behavior might have been a bit childish while holding the microphone. Man, who was stunned preparing to speak, appeared blushing while holding the microphone, reflecting the tense mood of the moment. He asked her about her dual fame as a musician and actress, mentioning her recent casting in an exciting new drama, while she listened attentively with intrigued interest. The man, speaking confidently into a microphone, announced that he believed the drama was titled Potty Mouth Teen, exuding a sense of assurance and charisma. She admitted that her true burden was related to her role, revealing the weight she had been carrying deep within. Feeling surprised and playful, she admitted that she had never cursed before and found it difficult to get used to. As we cut to, Love angrily pointed her finger and yelled a threatening insult at our boy, clearly confronting him with hostility. He boldly declared that his boss was present and demanded everyone to bow down, just before she delivered a fierce kick. Startled and confused by the sudden appearance, he questioned whether she was his boss, clearly shocked by the unexpected presence. Feeling the pressure of Sarang's aggressive training, Ji-yu nervously acknowledged her demands, recognizing that she was determined to push him to improve. Sarang, playful and teasing, asked Ji-yu if he had practiced killing monster mobs while she was gone, to which he responded with a smirk and a chuckle, clearly amused by her cheerful banter. Feeling confident and self-assured, Ji-yu reflected with a smirk that he had definitely practiced something and saw himself practicing for a long time to come. Teasing Ji-yu with a playful smirk, she challenged him to prove how much he had practiced. She, still curious, asked the protagonist for their name, wondering what their character name was. Ji-yu, appearing frustrated and caught off guard, interrupted the ongoing revelation by questioning whether he had not already explained that his character name was. Before getting cut off, she teased him by claiming she would call him Undies, which caused him to become embarrassed. We transitioned to an ominous group watching the two, as the leader claims to have found the girl. Un stood confidently among his cloaked followers and asked them what they should do, seeking guidance as the subservient hooligans looked on with uncertainty. He commanded the guild members to gather in the dungeon, declaring that justice would be served tonight. We transitioned to our boy charging at an animal, as he totally trips on air, and slowly but surely, taps the monster with the slightest bit of force. Ji-yu, determined and fierce, swung his stick with focus, striking the large beast as it reacted violently. Ji-yu, overwhelmed with joy and pride after successfully hitting the beast without killing it, raised his hand triumphantly and beamed with a big smile. Suddenly, a weapon was swiftly launched toward its target, heightening the tense atmosphere of the scene. Noticing the incoming attack, reacted quickly by pulling our boy out of the way and swiftly kicking the weapon away, got to hand it to her that was smooth, catching the weapon as it flung through the air. Commented that Sarang's performance was pretty good, and she likely owed that to her equipment, expressing amused approval. Startled and alarmed, Sarang demanded to know who the unknown presence was, her defensive stance contrasting with Ji's distressed reaction to the situation. Mr. Kim, smirking smugly, mocked the girl by asking if she had already forgotten his voice, then lamented that she was making him sad. Surprised and shocked, Sarang exclaimed that she was hearing about the Halasan Guild, reacting in disbelief to the unexpected revelation. Mr. Kim, with a smug and confident demeanor, greeted Love by stating that it had been a while. Mr. Kim, with a confident and assertive tone, challenged the followers by asking what they were all waiting for. She stood her ground with unwavering defiance as the hooligans, fueled by fury and confidence, charged toward her with orders to get them. Sarang, with a look of determination and resolve, confidently assumed a fighting stance, ready to engage in battle. As the men charged with rage ready to strike, Sarang, determined and fierce, executed a swift, powerful kick to a hooligan's face, leaving him shocked and outmatched amid the intense confrontation. Knocking him out while losing a tooth, she unleashed a fierce and powerful dragon strike energy against her opponents, demonstrating her determination. Ji-yu, observing the chaotic battle scene with a calm and determined gaze, concluded that based on the situation at hand, he understood the general flow of the conflict. He stated that Love confidently held an undefeated record against the Halasan Guild, boasting about her victorious streak. Jiyu expressed concern that the old man refused to give up and was determined to seek revenge. Jiyu and Urus mocked the defeated foes lying on the ground, with Jiyu sarcastically commenting on their weakness and how they had essentially dug their own graves. As the two watched the fight from the sidelines, having confirmed that everything was proceeding according to plan, the male character, confident and authoritative, instructed the elf that now she should make her move now that her guard was down. Sarung, looking alarmed and focused, watched in tense anticipation as the elf, swift and determined, suddenly dashed past her in a hurried movement. The elf without talking lifted her hand up. The mischievous smirk indicating her cunning nature, she chanted a sinister word, steal. Just then a bright flash shone across the cave. Opening her eyes in disbelief, Love, stunned and alarmed, realized with shock that her knuckles were missing. The elf was intrigued as she admired the weapon, commenting that it was a pretty nice weapon she had. The elf, with a mischievous smile and confident demeanor, playfully questioned whether the other character was wealthy or not. Jiyu was astonished as Urus calmly explained that the skill she had just used was called steal, a technique employed by the thief class. Urus, pondering the unexpected strength of the skill he had just observed, questioned how such a power could be so unusually potent. Jiyu, sitting casually and making a humorous remark about only having his underwear and cape, seemed amused as the small creature listened skeptically. Just before looking at his prized possession, Jiyu was running with his stick, frightened yet determined, while Sarung watched him with curiosity. Mr. Kim dismissed the main character with scorn, asserting that he was just a poor newbie and doubting he had anything worth taking. The elf girl without talking just stared at our boy, before giving the most lewd expression. I think we all know where this is going. Tossing the stolen gloves aside, she lamented that the leader was no fun. She smirked cynically, teasingly questioning whether stealing from the poor was truly more fun. As she executed the flash step, standing in front of our boy, the elf, flashing a playful grin and adopting a coy expression, addressed Jiyu with a teasing call, emphasizing her confident and flirtatious mood. She, with a mischievous smile, asked our boy where they were planning to go, teasing Jim as part of her playful demeanor. Jiyu, determined and anxious, stood ready to unleash his power despite his frustration, as he shouted that this was no time to hide his abilities while holding a stick. Fueled by fury and determination, Jiyu swung his stick fiercely, embodying the intense and aggressive mood of the battle. Just then the determined figure, cloaked and resolute, dramatically stood there as smoke enveloped the entire cave. Now see that our boy, standing there, has lost his overpowered stick. As the elf exclaimed this was perfect with a sinister smile, she declared that the wooden stick was now hers, confidently holding it with a playful yet menacing smile. As this reality hit our boy harder than Truckun, she chuckled playfully, teasing Jiyu that she would return for his cape and leave him only with his undies. Just before being cut off by a mysterious shadow looming over her. Just then she stood face to face with the monstrous huge creature, like Kurama off Naruto. The menacing supernatural being, radiating a formidable and ominous presence, warned the girl arrogantly that a mere human like her had no right to claim ownership of it. Despite her struggle and defiance, she suddenly collapsed in fear, while our watched nearby. Picking up his dropped stick, Jiyu, confident and victorious, declared that Urus's soul had rejected the enemy, and he had regained ownership of the weapon. Urus indignantly declared that no one except him was allowed to own the human, asserting his possessiveness with fierce pride. As our boy praised Urus while the cube being blushed, the elf, still lying down trembling, wondered just what the hell she had just seen. Mr. Kim, furious and demanding, reprimanded the elf on the ground for neglecting her duties. She confidently declared that she was a professional mercenary who worked for her money, embodying her determined and assertive attitude. Suddenly our girl came in hot with a deadly kick to the head. Furious, Sarung shouted at the elf, demanding her weapon back with intense anger. Despite her anger, the elf challenged the girl, asserting that she was after the wrong person and pointing out the weapon. Smirking with a devious expression, Mr. One held two knuckles, displaying his power in a cunning and ominous manner. Furious, Sarung challenged her opponents with a fierce expression, shouting at them angrily. Before being knocked out by our boy, is he about to stop holding back? As she dropped to the floor, Jiyu, standing confidently with a wooden weapon, revealed his secret tactic to strike without killing, demonstrating his strategic and focused mindset. She questioned Jiyu's loyalty with suspicion, unable to hide her doubt as she demanded an explanation for the apparent betrayal. Jiyu, with a smug and confident expression, proclaimed that he was actually going for that secretly OP vibe. With a playful and intrigued expression, she questioned what that meant, her curiosity evident as she asked what was going on. Just before our boy showed her firsthand what being OP meant, turning around in fear and leaving her speechless. She leaned forward to ask Jiyu if he had just done something. Without answering, he unleashed a deadly hit to her head, Mortal Kombat style. Jiyu faced the girl with an open expression, confidently acknowledging that he was indeed the one responsible. Feeling frustrated after enduring so much recently, Jiyu declared that he had become much more patient. Jiyu, appearing hell-bent, angrily blamed the other person for nearly causing him to die of a heart attack just moments ago. A massive explosion erupted from the ground, unleashing a powerful force that sent fiery shards soaring into the air. We cut to Love as she begins waking up. She suddenly brings up Still Alert, thinking they are still under attack. Jiyu, relaxed and contemplative as he leaned against a tree, asked her if she was finally up. Meanwhile, Sarang, feeling anxious and worried, questioned their whereabouts and asked where the other guys had gone, while Jiyu calmly explained that they were in the fields near the dungeon, where those guys had left earlier. Feeling stunned that they just left like that, she questioned why was she knocked out earlier, having no clue how it happened. Jiyu tossed the girl's gloves back to her. Jiyu, with a serious and inquisitive expression, asked Sarang if she was referring to the Halasan Guild. Jiyu, with a determined and inquisitive expression, demanded to know everything about the others, showing his intense curiosity and urgency. Leaving the girl shocked by his riz, she smiled slightly, letting out a sigh. Love, regretful and earnest, admitted that she was responsible for him being caught up in everything, so she would tell him. Sarang, with a playful tone and a casual gesture, asked whether her interlocutor had ever heard of the old lineagers. Jiyu, surprised and curious, asked what that was. Urus explained that the term, old lineagers, referred to old men who played the game. Lineage, leaving Jiyu intrigued by the humorous gaming slang. As Urus explained that the internet was his guide, Sarang explained with determination that these are game users who spend billions of one, which is the main characteristic of an old lineager. Confirmed that the Halasan Guild members were all old lineagers, with Sarang asserting this confidently as Jiyu listened pensively. Sarang explained that she had randomly come across the ornate knuckles at an auction a few months ago, and revealed that since then, the Halasan Guild had been persistently after her for possessing them. Love questioned Jiyu about why he had the stolen items on him, suspecting he had taken them back from them, which left him shocked and defensive. Despite her worried expression, Sarang reflected that although she did not fully understand how everything had happened, she believed they would return because that old man with the dark lips was determined and never gave up. Jiyu wondered aloud why their opponents were so determined to take the weapon from her, sensing that there was something strange about their relentless pursuit. She confidently explained that her knuckles, which cost over 10 million gold, were the reason why they wouldn't be underestimated. Jiyu, deep in thought, questioned why these wealthy individuals were so fixated on something worth only a few million, despite their ability to spend billions. Seeking answers, he declared that there must be another reason behind everything. We cut to a tranquil view of the Halasan Guild's base illuminated softly beneath the night sky. Inside, we see someone getting wounded from an attack. We then see Mr. Kim kneeling while coughing up ketchup. As the old geezer falls to the floor, feeling desperate and fearful, Mr. Kim pleaded with his boss for forgiveness, begging for just one more chance. The boss, with an intense and angry expression, demanded silence and called his lackey a piece of scum, asserting his dominance in a fierce confrontation. Realizing the urgency, the boss, exhausted and desperate, warned that there was no more time to waste and that another guardian would be taking over the mission. We are then introduced to more cannon fodder as they stand there. Mocking and arrogantly, the character questioned how someone who had only spent 100 million won could be one of the four guardians, implying disbelief at his status despite his boastful confidence. Another expressed his frustration, criticizing that they should have cut him off sooner, warning that being too kind led to the current chaos. As the rank 1 guardian of the Halasan Guild just stood there, Guy mocked the Kim's failed attempt at strategy, sarcastically suggesting that hiring a mercenary was all he could manage and implying that his failure was inevitable. The rank 1 confidently stepped forward among the concerned group and declared that he would go instead, demonstrating his determination to take charge. Slicking his hair back, surprised and with a hand on his head, he stated he could bring the knuckles of silence to his companion before lunch. As the leader let out a chuckle, he laughed manically hearing what had just been said. Mr. Wang, the cunning leader of the Halasan Guild, grinned menacingly and declared that everything was perfect. Mr. Wang, with a determined expression, commanded his followers to demonstrate the true fear that the Halasan Guild could unleash. Before we cut to our boy literally standing amongst them, don't know how he got in. Jiyu continued to mock the opponents with loud, derisive laughter, ridiculing the idea of a bloodbath and the presence of 4 guardians. The leader confronted the intruder with suspicion, demanding to know their identity and how they had entered the premises. Jiyu, with a mischievous tone, playfully indicated that he would leave the secret to the imagination of others. Jiyu confronted the hooligans assertively, warning them that if they continued to threaten his boss, Love, it would jeopardize his carefully maintained secret identity and the effort he had put into creating a convincing excuse. Jiyu, confidently threatening his unseen opponent, declared that he would finish him quickly and urged not to drag the storyline along. Mr. Wang, with glowing eyes and a menacing demeanor, issued a warning that the opponent had no idea what they were truly facing. Following Mr. Wang's calm yet commanding warning, the hooligans, driven by fury and aggression, leapt toward their target with weapons drawn. As they charged and not know what was about to hit them, our boy with a swift swing, swung his stick, causing an uproar and soloing the goons with one attack, as they people flew one after another. We cut to outside the guild base as a foot is seen stepping in. We then see the figure walking to the base while humming. Driven by GU's fierce attack, the enemy was being propelled backward with surprising force as they engaged in a fierce combat. He grimaced in pain and spat ketchup, clearly suffering a severe injury. GU smirks confidently while the impending confrontation with a smug and mischievous expression. As he strut up destroys their base. This catches the attention of our intruder, as they give a slight smile as the sight before them. It is then revealed to be the goddess, as if things couldn't get worse. Mr. Wang, the fierce and commanding leader of the Halasan Guild, shouted loudly to rally his members and prepare for battle. Facing a furious and reckless group of opponents charging at him, Jiyu stood his ground with a defiant expression as the enemies closed in. Looking ready and eager to fight, he boldly challenged the army, declaring that if they wanted to kill him, that they would need at least 3 million members to match his resolve. Jiyu, confident and fearless, swings his wooden stick with a fierce grin, clearly preparing to strike and displaying his defiant attitude. A figure, led by Mr. Wang, was blown into the air, as our boy swung strike after strike, leaving all the enemies with broken morale. As the leader watched in shock, the lackey called out to him. Feeling desperate and worried, Mr. Kim urgently urged his boss to run and save himself, warning that if they did not escape, they would all be doomed. Feeling confused and overwhelmed, Mr. Wang expressed his inability to understand the situation. Feeling the mounting tension, Mr. Kim clenched his jaw and wondered aloud how the young opponent was managing to take them all down so effortlessly. Just then a thought struck him. He wondered if our boy was someone well known. We then see a picture of Jiyu as the boss claimed he was the rumored one. Learning this shocked the guy even more, his poor heart pounding. Lying defeated and filled with despair, Jiyu remained standing as Mr. Wang stood tall amidst the chaos, observing the aftermath of the brutal battle. Jiyu, standing confidently with a stick over his shoulder and a triumphant smile, declared that he had finished cleaning up perfectly, celebrating his victory. Jiyu announced that only the 2 of them remained, while one cowered on the ground in fear. Jiyu, smiling menacingly, declared that it was time for a spanking, clearly asserting his dominance over the frightened opponent. Swinging his stick furiously, he smackled the old man, giving him a concussion. After falling to the ground, lackey called out for his poor boss. Jiyu declared that the Halasan Guild was over starting today and warned others to stop bothering Captain Love, emphasizing his determination with a stick over his shoulder. Jiyu, with a triumphant shout and wielding a weapon, declared his departure boldly, bidding farewell to the old men as he dramatically exited the scene. Shaking in anger and clenching his fist, Jiyu, shocked by the realization, stared intensely at the regal figure behind him, recognizing a powerful presence he had not expected. He, with a furious and menacing presence, made a grave accusation that it was our boy who had annihilated all members of the top 5 guilds and the entire 3 million members of the World Guild Alliance. Mr. Wang was laughing menacingly with a sinister grin, revealing his malevolent intent in the ominous scene. Realizing the challenge, Mr. Wang, with a smug expression, mocked that achieving such strength must have cost an exorbitant amount of money. Meanwhile, Jiyu, standing confidently and challenging the old man, dismissed his accusations and insisted that he had spent a pretty penny on the game, despite not understanding what the old man was talking about. Mr. Kim, visibly astonished and anxious, reacted with wide eyes and sweat drops, questioning if the price truly was a pretty penny, possibly in trillions, reflecting his shock at the outrageous cost. Determined, Ji-yu confidently announced that he had purchased the 55,001 beginner warrior package, showcasing his commitment to his training. Hearing this made this guy's heart stop, as he stood there contemplating life, laughed out loud not knowing what to do with that information. Feeling eager, Mr. Wang enthusiastically declared that this game was the one and that things were truly interesting here. Just before a figure cut him off agreeing. Goddess, full of enthusiasm and confidence, proclaimed her belief that Chrono Life was the best, while Mr. Wang appeared visibly shocked by her arrival. The goddess greeted the Harem guild with a charming wave, smiling warmly and addressing them as she declared that it was a beautiful evening. Girl, with a cheerful smile and a curious tone, asked the man how his preparations were going and whether everything was proceeding smoothly. Sarung questioned Mr. Kim's statement with curiosity and concern, sensing his evasiveness and pressing him to clarify what he meant by saying the preparations were going well, or perhaps not as smoothly as he claimed. Turning a new page, he declared that from this moment on, they were giving up on that and would no longer cooperate with the others. Smiling playfully, she responded with curiosity, I think we all know where this is going. The girl executed a powerful slash with her weapon, leaving the guy defensive and alarmed as the intense combat scene unfolded. After cutting him up like Gojo, reflecting on her decision with a playful smile, she admitted that she was just a little annoyed and couldn't help herself, even though she thought she should have asked why first, before stabbing the other guy like there was no tomorrow. After catching two bodies, she changed her appearance. The goddess stands confidently, holding her divine staff with poise and exuding an aura of majestic power. She then calls out Love's name, hinting at something sinister. Moments after, a stark notification announces that every member of the Harem guild has fallen, signaling that experience will now be awarded for their defeat. Moments later, a loud chime reverberates as the number 999.00 flashes across the screen, marking an exhilarating milestone. Meanwhile, Ji-yu, filled with anticipation, as the system announced his surprise with a dramatic flourish. Suddenly, a triumphant message echoed through the clearing, announcing that he had reached the maximum level. Meanwhile, Ji-yu suddenly questioned what was happening, his confusion mirrored by Urus, who anxiously asked what was wrong as both struggled to understand. Curiosity brimming as Ji-yu engaged with the system interface, he clarified that a system message had just announced reaching the maximum level and offered to reveal his stats for his inspection. We are then shown our boy's stats. Meanwhile, a guy questioned in astonishment if he was really close to max level, claiming that it was impossible. At that moment, the guy explained that users worldwide were relentlessly attempting the same achievement, but none had ever succeeded. However, microphone in hand, he thoughtfully remarked that even if all the world's top users, including himself, dedicated every hour of the day to farming, the outcome would remain uncertain. He went on to admit with frustration that, despite such relentless effort, it would still likely take decades to reach that level, just as we see our boy at that exact level. Suddenly, Ji-yu, shocked and anxious, reacted to the unexpected event by reaching toward the glowing object, his confusion evident as he struggled to comprehend what was happening. At that moment, Urus proclaimed that Ji-yu had become the first person on the planet to reach master level, leaving Ji-yu awestruck by the announcement. Still reeling from the revelation, he questioned in disbelief how his level had skyrocketed so suddenly, recalling that not long ago he had only reached level 7. I think we all know, man, you killed 8 million people. That was the moment when the very first master level user emerged, as Ji-yu stood proudly. Just then, Ji-yu stepped onto the sparkling golden surface, making a significant entrance that shimmered with mystical promise. Suddenly, he jolted in shock as an unseen phenomenon unfolded before him. His confusion and surprise etched across his face. Moments later, anticipation building, he learned that his achievement had unlocked passage to the ascended plane, filling him with awe. We transition to Love, who is lying down all lonely. Moments later, she voiced her indifference by remarking that she was bored, her posture radiating disinterest. However, her mood quickly shifted as she expressed her annoyance, complaining with growing frustration about not knowing where our boy had gone. Contemplating on what to do, Love fell dramatically onto her back, her annoyance clear as she let out a frustrated groan. Meanwhile, sprawled defiantly on the ground, she demanded urgency, and reminded Ji-yu that her patience was strictly limited. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the mystical realm where an island floats weightlessly among a sea of stars, its tranquil presence contrasting with the earlier tension. Amidst this otherworldly place, Ji-yu stands poised and confident, ready to confront the unknown challenge that awaits. However, As uncertainty settles in, he clutches his stick and, looking perplexed, asks what this strange place could be. Vents about being dragged into bizarre situations by forces beyond his control, mentioning encounters with the self-proclaimed gods and the Chrono Life CEO, while the small creature beside him teases that his popularity must be the reason for all this chaos. Suddenly, as he reeled from the teasing, an ominous, unseen presence greeted him, startling Jiyu and leaving him frozen in surprise. The unknown person acknowledged his surprise at having company so soon and remarked with admiration on the remarkable achievement of Jiyu. With a confident gleam in his eyes, the person proclaimed that he led the Ascended, his presence radiating ominous authority. We are introduced to the god of classes who stretched out his arms in a grand gesture, inviting Jiyu into the cosmic expanse and declaring with an air of authority that he was welcome there. With measured gravitas, he commended Jiyu for enduring the arduous journey that led him to this divine audience. With a proud tone, he proclaimed that Jiyu had achieved the master level as a beginner, and was truly deserving of admiration. Urus, still curious and slightly puzzled, questioned what the creature meant by calling Jiyu a beginner, as he admitted he hadn't advanced his job class yet, and confessed that he had hoped to become a swordsman. Suddenly an announcement declared that Jiyu would now advance to a hidden class, and his eyes lit up with excitement as the magnitude of this achievement began to sink in. Moments later, glowing orbs materialized around him, leaving Jiyu astonished by this unexpected revelation. In that charged instant, the soul of the sword surged into his body, its overwhelming presence leaving Jiyu tense with both awe and foreboding. As the symbols blazed with power, the entire scene was engulfed in a radiant flash, amplifying the intensity to its peak. As their essence fused within him, the light blazed even brighter, signaling a dramatic transformation as Jiyu absorbed the very power of these ancient relics. The souls of both the knuckle and the spear surged into his body, imbuing him with a profound sense of empowerment as sparks danced around him. Suddenly, the system announced that the souls of all weapons had now successfully entered his body, as Jiyu grinned smugly. In the aftermath, the system declared his job advancement complete and revealed his new hidden class, Master Novice. However, the victorious moment quickly shifted as the system notified him that all his stats would be reset, but compensated him with 3 times the ability points he had previously used. Stunned by the unexpected twist, Urus reacted with amazement, barely able to process the sheer scale of the system's reward. As the shock settled in, he realized with disbelief that his remaining ability points now totaled nearly 15,000, struggling to comprehend the enormity of what the system had granted him. At that moment, Urus stared wide-eyed at the screen, internally exclaiming his disbelief that not only had Jiyu advanced to a hidden class, but he also possessed 3 times the usual ability points. At that moment Jiyu looked up in surprise as he remarked that Urus seemed even more impressed by the points than by his new hidden class, prompting Urus to quickly insist that, of course, he was. As Urus explained that typically leveling up only grants 5 ability points, he revealed with excitement that now the reward had increased to 15 per level. Building on the momentum, he emphasized with mounting enthusiasm that even if another player managed to reach the master level, Jiyu's own progress would still place him at an advantage 3 times greater. However, as Jiyu examined the magical screen with a perplexed expression, Urus nervously questioned how he could remain so calm in the face of something so unprecedented. Meanwhile, Jiyu, his eyes alight with excitement, Urus shouted that the discovery before him could soon make waves throughout the gaming communities. Grinning with a sadistic smile, our boy started upgrading his stats. As notifications flooded the air, he celebrated gleefully, realizing that his selected stat had been successfully enhanced multiple times. However, Urus suddenly questioned the unexpected turn of events, his shock cutting through the celebratory mood as he demanded to know what Jiyu was doing. In response, Jiyu eagerly explained that he was allocating his ability points and excitedly added that by holding down the option, he could repeatedly access the distribution menu. However, Urus, growing skeptical, questioned whether distributing the points so haphazardly was wise, warning that a single misstep could jeopardize his entire stat build. Suddenly, Urus anxiously demanded to know if Jiyu was truly investing all his ability points into a single stat and, bewildered by the choice, pressed him to explain why, while Jiyu responded with a smug confirmation. Maintaining his air of superiority, he confidently declared that, at least for now, no other stat mattered to him, reaffirming his self-assured resolve. Meanwhile, The quiet cityscape pulses with anticipation beneath the building's glowing lights. The abrupt movement shatters the tension, as someone is seen running urgently. Immediately afterward, a guide burst into the office with a serious expression, urgently informing Diakbi that he had troubling news. As he examined his meal with a curious gaze, Diakbi asked what was troubling the other person. In response, the man anxiously urged him to come quickly, insisting that there was something crucial about that user he needed to see. Moments later, Diakbi strode into the tense corridor and demanded to know what the problem was, his confident tone amplifying the intensity. Without hesitation, he gestured toward the monitor and suggested that Diakbi examine the information displayed on the screen. As Diakbi observed the screen, he expressed his intrigue with a quiet exclamation, his curiosity piqued by the unfolding revelation. Diakbi skeptically mocked the so-called achievement, his sardonic tone underscoring his disbelief at Gu finally reaching the maximum level. At that moment, the guy, his concern evident, argued that the problem was not with the Gio's level but rather with his actions, prompting Diakbi to ask with curiosity what exactly was happening. Diakbi questioned what had caused the commotion, and wondered aloud which stat had been chosen. He directed his superior's attention to the glowing interface, revealing with conviction that this was the stat that he had chose. Moments later, Diakbi burst into laughter, expressing his admiration for Gio's unconventional approach and commenting with genuine amusement that the kid truly knew how to enjoy himself. The guy, his voice tight with urgency, warned that this was no time for jokes and insisted that our boy was now doomed to fail for the remainder of the game. Continuing the tense conversation, the guy speculated with concern that if Gu realized all his efforts had ultimately ruined his future in the game, the consequences could be dire. However, Diakbi, smirking with a cigar in hand, imparted his sardonic perspective by reminding the group that game developers ultimately have no control over how players choose to experience their creations. Yet beneath his bravado, the guy's tone faltered as he hesitantly suggested they at least consider some form of backup plan, revealing a flicker of unease beneath the surface. However, as Diakbi continued to walk away without acknowledgement, the man anxiously called out to him, his voice betraying a desperate need for reassurance. Meanwhile, Diakbi internally marveled that he had never imagined someone would invest all their points into that stat, let alone become a master novice. At that moment, Diakbi, radiating excitement, proclaimed to the audience that, for the first time in gaming history, they were witnessing both the best and worst possible character ever created. Moments later, the god voice thundered as he demanded that the Ascended One listen, the weight of his authority filling the space. With a solemn gesture, he revealed that this would be the final stage of their journey together and that a single, defining choice awaited the Ascended One. With a sweeping gesture, the god of classes revealed the ascended weapons arrayed before him, declaring with reverence that the crucial decision now was to select one from among them for Gu's keeping. Gu exclaimed with excitement that he was always eager for a free reward, his enthusiasm lighting up the mystical setting as Urus watched with curiosity. However, as his excitement faded, he grew pensive, mulling over which of the magical sword or mysterious staff he should choose. But then, with renewed confidence, he crossed his arms, smiled, and proudly announced that he had finally made his decision. As Gu stretched his hand out in confidence, he demanded forcefully that everything be given to him, his determination evident in the bold gesture. However, the god of classes remained stoic as he refused the human child's request, his many arms motionless. As the atmosphere grew heavier, the god of classes imparted a dire warning, declaring with foreboding authority that unchecked greed would only lead to misfortune and urging the human to make the right choice. For our boy cut him off and exclaiming a boldy, "Hey," to get the god's attention. However, Gu confronted his opponent with a defiant glare, demanding that they hand over what he wanted before the god gets the blue beat out of him. Suddenly, hearing this, his mouth dropped at the revelation. Still reeling from Gu's defiance, Diakbi dropped his cigar as he was shocked too from what he had just heard. Suddenly, the god of classes delivered a grave warning, his focused expression underscoring the ominous shift as the system announced that Gus' actions had angered him. Just then, the system declared that our boy was now enemies of the god of classes, solidifying the threat that now loomed over them. In a blinding surge of energy, he unleashes a devastating attack, the intense glow from his weapon illuminating the tension between him and his defiant foe. However, as the aftermath of the attack leaves the air crackling with tension, Gu grips the wooden stick tightly and, with a defiant glare, concedes that he will accept the challenge. Meanwhile, his bold challenge hung in the air, making it clear that Jiyu was eager to provoke a confrontation. In response, the god unleashed a fierce burst of dazzling energy from his magical weapon, the epic force crackling through the air. We then see our boy Jiyu nowhere to be found in the rubble. Meanwhile, Urus, his voice trembling with fear as he scanned the chaotic scene, called out desperately for Jiyu and confessed that he thought he had just seen Jiyu hesitate before attacking. At that moment, the god of classes, radiating triumph, boasted ominously that he had never imagined the day would come when he punished an ascended one with his own hands, his words laced with a menacing intensity. Just then a large-scale devastating attack is unleashed on the god. Recoiling from the overwhelming assault, Jiyu screamed in utter despair, his voice echoing his complete sense of hopelessness against the cosmic void, as his entire face melted. Amidst the chaos, Jiyu raised his weapon triumphantly and, with a confident grin, acknowledged the god of class's strength by admitting that the recent blow had hurt. As the triumphant chime echoed, we then are shown his health, which was barely nicked down from the god's attack and which all his points went to constitution. Informative display appeared, explaining that the constitution stat influences both maximum health regeneration, and immunity to status effects. However, Urus smugly warned that a grave mistake had been made and Jiyu's character was now completely ruined, leaving Jiyu confused and anxiously demanding to know why. At that moment, Urus explained that in Chrono Life, all equipment carries a weight stat, meaning every player, regardless of their class, must increase their strength to use gear. However, Urus amusedly informed him that he couldn't equip anything except his cape and wooden stick, but Jiyu responded with playful confidence that those were all he needed. Suddenly, a bright item notification appeared, catching Jiyu off guard and filling the moment with a surge of surprise. Meanwhile, a hidden skill notification popped up stating he met the requirements. Jiyu reacted with disbelief and confusion, struggling to comprehend what he was seeing. At that moment, the information panel revealed the true nature of the hidden skill, detailing its astonishing ability to instantly recover any damage and grant complete immunity to all status effects, leaving Jiyu stunned by the overwhelming power now at his disposal. Meanwhile, the god, consumed by agony, clutched his head as he uttered muffled cries of pain. Furious, the god unleashed a devastating surge of energy as he roared at our boy, demanding how a lowly human dared to challenge him. Just then the blue beam easily pierced through our boy. Is this the end for him, I wonder? However, as the dust settled from Jiyu's daring assault, Urus, his voice rife with fear, rushed to Jiyu's side to anxiously ask if he was okay. But instead of answering, this man simply let out a sinister laugh as he reclined smugly on the ground, causing Urus to recoil in shock at his unnerving display. Meanwhile, Jiyu, brimming with excitement, proclaimed out loud that Chrono Life was truly the best game ever, as we see him healing like venom. Suddenly, the god, his fury palpable, launched a ferocious attack with his glowing sword at Jiyu while declaring with contempt that the lowly human should perish. In response, Jiyu stood there with a smile on his face, tanking the shot like he was hacking and in god mode. God, overwhelmed by fury, roared as he unleashed attack, not giving our boy the time of day to breathe. Meanwhile, Jiyu let out a maniacal burst of laughter as the god unleashed a powerful slash. At that moment, Jiyu glanced upward with confidence, acknowledging his decision as he calmly affirmed his readiness. As the air crackled with tension, Jiyu furiously prepared for battle and demanded if it was finally time to settle their conflict. Maintaining his unwavering resolve, he asserted that he had learned much from the encounter, and demanded the god surrender their weapons and leave at once. The atmosphere shifted as a menacing god emerged from the shadows, delivering a chilling warning that the child's insatiable greed would ultimately lead to their downfall. In response, Jiyu, his expression fiercely confident, silenced his opponent with a defiant command, undeterred by the earlier threat. Building on his unwavering resolve, he hefted the stick, preparing to unleash a decisive attack with fierce determination. In the next instant, a blinding surge of energy erupted from his weapon as he channeled his determination into a powerful attack, forcing the god to brace himself against the oncoming force. As the energy tore through the void, it could not stand the pressure. It started cracking. In the aftermath, a disembodied voice declared that the ascended plane had been destroyed and warned that they would now be forced back to their original location, as Jiyu stood amidst the ruins. Moments later, surrounded by swirling mist, he stood alone with a pensive gaze. Suddenly, An explosive shockwave echoed through the air as the ascended weapon surged with energy lie before him. At that moment, he realized that all the legendary weapons now belonged to him. As the weapons of the ascended shimmered and vanished into subspace, ready to be summoned by their rightful owner at any moment. Moments later, Ji-yu expressed his delight with a beaming smile, celebrating the magical turn of events. We then see Yujiro Hanma love angry at our boy. Still seething, she confronted the air with a furious glare, demanding to know how Ji-yu could have kept her waiting so long and insisting there was no excuse for his behavior. However, Ji-yu, undeterred by her anger, greeted her with a cheerful wave and called out enthusiastically, before catching an iron fist straight to the face, ouch. As Love strode away, declaring her intent to depart, Ji-yu stood behind her. As Ji-yu, still surprised, demanded to know where she was going, Love resolutely informed him that she was logging out and continued to leave the conversation. Moments later, still pensive, he quietly wished her a good night as she turned away. As Ji-yu remained seated and Love stood before him, she insisted that he log in tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. That's when she finished work, making sure he understood her demand. Maintaining her stern demeanor, she warned him that any future tardiness would have serious consequences. Ji-yu responded, and teasingly remarked that she was as selfish and temperamental as ever. He mused aloud that he should get going soon, prompting Urus to ask if he planned to log out as well, to which Ji-yu replied that it was already past midnight. Just then, Ji-yu stepped forward and the worker warmly thanked them for visiting, inviting them to return again. Ji-yu, feeling tired after the recent encounter, let out a relaxed yawn as he rubbed his eye. As he continued down the path, he reflected contentedly on how much he enjoyed his latest Chrono Life session, thinking to himself that it truly was the best game. Meanwhile, his confident grin hinted at the power he now held over the market, fully aware that his unique position allowed him to dictate his own worth. Moments later, Ji-yu stood pensively, questioning this limitation and growing increasingly concerned about the consequences. Suddenly, he noticed the brightly lit Grandma's soup sign and reacted with surprise, his concern momentarily giving way to curiosity. Now, drawn by the enticing aroma, he admitted to himself that he was feeling hungry and considered stopping for a bowl of soup. However, as he reached for his wallet, Ji-yu hesitated, abandoning his earlier thought and muttering with frustration that it was impossible after all. Moments later, leaving in despair, he lamented to himself in a low, melancholic tone that his poverty felt inescapable and unbearably sad. Still weighed down by hopelessness, he reflected with a troubled sigh that he could scarcely afford trips to the arcade these days and wondered if taking on more hours at the convenience store might be his only option. Just then, a thought ran across his mind urging him to stop in his tracks and think. But as realization dawned, he considered whether selling his items and converting them into cash might be the clever solution he needed. However, just as the idea took hold, he made a sharp, decisive turn, alert and ready to act on his newfound plan. Moments later, propelled by determination, he sprinted through the luminous cityscape, his focus unwavering as he raced toward the challenge ahead. Now, standing at the edge of the infamous ravine of the deceased, he surveyed the graveyard strewn with skulls and dark spikes. Extending a gloved arm with a smug smile, Urus welcomed our boy to his domain. Moments later, Ji-yu responded with a confident smile, asserting that he intended to remain for the foreseeable future. In response, Urus assured him with his head hung low that he was welcome to stay as long as he wished. Ji-yu, his determination burning fiercely, reflected that he had once been so consumed by revenge he abandoned his loot, but now he was resolute in his intent to claim every last reward from this place. Meanwhile, a fierce and menacing monster unleashed a wave of dark energy, his ominous power casting an oppressive shadow over the battleground. However, Ji-yu responded to the menacing display by smiling confidently, expressing his determination with a triumphant air as he affirmed that he was ready. Standing resolutely atop a mound of skulls before the looming monstrous entities, Ji-yu declared to himself with defiant determination that his days of poverty were now behind him. The confident smile brightening his face, he decided it was finally time to seize the opportunities ahead and start making money. Their towering forms radiated a chilling aura, casting long, shifting shadows across the mystical landscape as their presence threatened to suffocate any lingering hope. Moments later, the atmosphere thickened with tension as the abrupt declaration signaled that the monster's presence had been utterly erased. With the battlefield now silent, GU's formidable display had annihilated every last creature in the ravine of deceased after wielding his swing up ability only twice. Suddenly, a mystical rain began to fall, showering the ravine with priceless treasures and ominous relics that glimmered among the scattered skulls. Urus, clearly impressed, exclaimed with excitement that our boy had defeated their foes in an instant, and enthusiastically praised his swift victory. However, GU, wearing a smug smirk, dismissed the celebration by warning Urus that this was only the beginning, casting a sinister shadow over their fleeting victory. Moments after his discovery, GU told Urus to look over there, anticipation rising as he registered the mob's sudden return. Meanwhile, the phenomenon known as respawn, the revival of game monsters after a fixed interval, cast an ominous shadow, as the colossal creature reappeared amid the darkness, surrounded by mysterious flying entities. Amid this tense awakening, GU, gripping his stick with determination, suggested they proceed cautiously since it was only the first day of farming. However, with fierce confidence, he declared that he would take down his opponents 100 times that day as he charged boldly into battle. He found himself standing before a towering pile of ominously glowing artifacts and scattered skulls, his astonishment mirroring the ominous power unleashed in the aftermath of his attack. As the dust settled, he erupted into maniacal laughter. Guys, I don't think I've ever seen a guy laugh as much as the Joker. Meanwhile, the chaos faded into a tranquil cityscape basking under a clear blue sky. Moments later, a cheerful farewell was called out from the Gwitzy store entrance, inviting the peaceful city to resume its gentle rhythm. We then see our boy drip down in the swag, ladies watch out. Moments later, he takes the wheel of a flashy yellow convertible. This draws the attention of all the women. And guys, ? They exclaimed in amazement that they had never seen a Lamborghini before, while they all reacted with awe as the flashy yellow car captured everyone's attention. Now, gripping the steering wheel with a smug grin, he declared with bold confidence that it was time to outshine his rivals. Suddenly, the car's tires screeched against the pavement as it hurtled forward, sparks flying in the wake of his daring escape. In the next instant, the car slammed violently into a pole, sending a jolt of terror through GU. Reeling from the crash, GU stood before the battered Lamborghini and cried out in anguish that his precious car, which had cost him 400 million won, was now ruined. Moments later, his carefree attitude fueled his momentum as he sped down the road, unconcerned about the consequences left behind. We see, the skyscraper's stark silhouette seemed to signal that something momentous awaited just beyond. Meanwhile, inside one of those looming offices, Diakbi rested his forehead in his hand and let out a weary sigh, frustration etched across his face. However, pushing his fatigue aside, he instructed the man to continue his report, and he promptly acknowledged the order with deference. The man anxiously outlined the dire consequences of the sudden influx of top-ranking items on the market, explaining that the accelerated consumption of game content had undermined his company's credibility, triggered a flood of complaints, and caused their stock value to plummet. As Diakbi thought internally about leaving the company, frustration simmered between Diakbi and the man as Diakbi demanded to know how they could prevent GU's actions, complaining about the man's infuriating presence, while the man explained with concern that, given the recent legalization of in-game cash trading, there was currently no way to stop him. Diakbi just then received a phone call, his tone serious as he asked if anyone was there. At that moment GU, his mood light and cheerful, greeted the caller enthusiastically from his car, asking how the other person had been. Now, brimming with excitement, he announced that he was heading out to spend his money and wondered aloud if the other person needed anything, mentioning he had thought about buying them a gift. However, as anticipation hung in the air, Diakbi gripped his phone tightly, his furious gaze revealing that he was steeling himself for the confrontation ahead. Moments later, his frustration only grew as he continued to lash out, the tension in the car intensifying with every word and gesture. However, as the call abruptly ended, GU, still gripping his phone with surprise, reflected with growing concern that his friend must be going through something. Now, sitting pensively in his luxury car, he wondered aloud what else he could possibly buy, listing his designer possessions as he realized he already had everything he could want. However, feeling a surge of determination, he admitted to himself that he needed something more and resolved that his next move had to be unforgettable. Suddenly, a burst of excitement lit up his face as he realized he had completely forgotten about the most important thing. Once again GU erupted into a fit of maniacal laughter, his wide grin radiating a menacing sense of triumph that filled the air. Amidst the lavishly decorated room, he declared with pride that only the finest and most luxurious things would suffice for him. In response, he stood with arms raised in elation and proclaimed that he had finally found the explosive breakthrough he had been searching for. However, remembering that he had just moved in, he reminded himself that there was something important he absolutely needed to do next. Moments later, carrying a plate of cake and wearing a cheerful smile, he rang the doorbell to announce his arrival. However, the cheerful mood shifted as a suspicious voice from inside demanded to know who was at the door. In response, Ji-yu explained that he had just moved in next door and, wanting to be neighborly, brought over a sweet treat. Just then she instructs our boy to wait a moment like a good little doggy. Meanwhile, as the uneasy command lingers in the air, the door stands partly open. Suddenly, Ji-yu bursts, beaming as he enthusiastically greets his neighbor and presents her with a cake, breaking the tension with his cheerful introduction. However, our boy is startled by this familiar face and beauty. The woman is depicted with long luscious pink hair and big round glasses. However, curiosity soon overtook her as she leaned forward, eyes bright with intrigue, peeking cautiously around the corner. Moments later, Ji-yu nervously stepped into view and offered a cake to her, his anxious gesture met with Love's surprised and curious expression. At that moment, as Ji-yu observed Love's reaction, he realized with awe that this was the turning point he had been anticipating. Her eyes widened behind her glasses as the weight of that realization continued to settle in, leaving her momentarily speechless. Meanwhile, a desolate landscape of stone spikes and scattered skulls unfolds before us, its haunting emptiness echoing the heaviness. Suddenly an enormous foot looms above the mound of skulls, its menacing presence intensifying the oppressive atmosphere of the barren wasteland. Moments later, a dark, clawed hand extends menacingly from the shadows, its ominous energy amplifying the dread that hangs over the wasteland. Now, atop a mound of skulls and radiating fierce intent, the masked figure launches his attack, incinerating the monsters before him. As the ground trembles and monster flesh crumbles under the force of his unleashed dark energy, his furious power tears through the battlefield. With menace radiating from every word, the monsters made it clear that any trespass would not be tolerated. However, with a mocking sneer, he taunted his adversaries by asking if the foolish mutts failed to recognize their owner. The air crackles with ominous power as swirling tentacles gather around him, amplifying the dread that hangs over the battlefield. Suddenly, driven by unyielding resolve, he lunges forward and repeatedly plunges his tentacles into the monstrous creature, each furious stab echoing through the chaos. Just then, he starts draining the energy of the monsters by drinking their blood through his tentacles. Monsters are then seen dried up like raisins, like dried tree bark, like old stale food. Okay, stop the roasting. Just then silence fills the room as this mysterious person laments in his thoughts. We are then shown a flashback to when Urus got absolutely destroyed by our boy and his other head blew off. Continuing the flashback, we see the small creature anxiously question where its other head had gone, while Ji-yu, looking unbothered, replied dismissively that he had no idea. Suddenly, the shadowy figure stepped forward amidst the jagged crystals, defiantly revealing himself as the lost head of Urus. With a furious glare, he announced that he would be the one to eliminate all humans, making his deadly intent unmistakably clear.